Dear Aries and those with Aries rising, do you feel an invisible but very powerful change beginning in your life? Perhaps you've noticed lately that some things aren't the same as before. Maybe you're experiencing an inexplicable weariness, a desire to distance yourself from certain people, or a need to close a chapter in the past. The week of August 24th to 30th could be extremely important for understanding the reasons behind these feelings. Because the lunar eclipse occurring on August 28th at 4 degrees of Pisces takes place in your 12th house, and this eclipse marks a powerful period where you will begin to see the results of experiences you've had, especially over the last 2 years. Moreover, the eclipse's connection to the North Node suggests that a new direction may open up for you. This week is not just about the developments of the past week. It could be a crucial turning point for understanding the reasons behind past events, letting go of burdens that drag you down, and opening a new chapter in your life. If you are an Aries or have Aries rising, I especially recommend watching this video to the end, because some of the developments I will describe may reveal the background of events you are currently experiencing but haven't yet been able to make sense of. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell. Now, let's look together at what doors this powerful week can open in your life. One of the most important messages of the lunar eclipse in Pisces, which will take place in your 12th house on August 28th, is the completion of some cycles that have been tiring you. In astrology, the 12th house represents the subconscious, the past, closures, unseen processes, the struggles a person experiences within themselves, the need for rest, and sometimes the emotional burdens they have been carrying unknowingly for a long time. Therefore, this eclipse should not be evaluated only in terms of major events that will occur in the outside world. Sometimes the greatest effect of an eclipse occurs not externally, but internally. For example, you may have been repeatedly evaluating a relationship, a friendship, a work environment, or an event from the past in your mind. Thoughts like, why did this happen? Where did I go wrong? I wish I had acted differently that day may constantly take you back to the past. This eclipse can show you that you should no longer live with the same questions, because you may realize that some answers are not in the past, but in the life you will build from now on. Especially when you consider the developments in your life over the last 2 years, you may see that some events actually prepared you for where you are today. Perhaps a job you really wanted didn't work out 2 years ago. At the time, you saw it as a loss. But now, looking back, you may understand that the failure of that job led you down a more positive path. Perhaps a relationship ended and you spent a long time trying to understand why. Now, you may see that the end of that relationship actually helped you get to know yourself better. Perhaps a friendship ended, you distanced yourself from a social circle, or you left a lifestyle behind. The uncertainty you experienced back then may have given you a stronger perspective today. The August 28th eclipse, while accounting for the past 2 years, may allow you to ask, where has all this led me? Instead of, why did I experience all this? Because this eclipse is in your 12th house, your need for solitude may increase this week. Don't view this as a negative thing. Sometimes a person needs to get away from the noise of the outside world to hear their own voice. If you are a very busy Aries, you may be used to constantly solving problems, keeping up with people, taking responsibility, and taking action. But this week, the sky might be telling you to stop and listen to yourself. Perhaps going to bed earlier for a few days, using your phone less, taking a walk in nature, or allowing yourself some time to rest, sometimes you've been putting off, could do you a lot of good, because sometimes to make a fresh start, you first need to mentally close the old chapter. Another significant aspect of the eclipse is the conjunction of Mercury in Virgo in your 6th house with the Sun and its opposition to the eclipse moon. This highlights your daily life, work routine, responsibilities, and mental intensity. While one might feel like resting, letting go, and withdrawing, another might push you to act with the demands of your tasks, responsibilities, and daily routine. This opposition can teach you to re-establish balance in your life. For example, you may have been shouldering everyone's responsibilities at work for a while. You might be constantly taking on extra work with the mindset of, I can't do it without you. But this eclipse can show you that you don't have to do everything alone. Sharing a task, asking for help, or setting limits on certain responsibilities can be much more relieving than you think. Similarly, you can make some adjustments in your daily life. It might be possible to tidy up a cluttered work environment, complete postponed tasks, simplify your daily schedule, and avoid unnecessary meetings or exhausting routines. The main goal here isn't to work harder, but to establish a more efficient and healthy routine, because the 12th house eclipse makes you ask yourself, what is draining me spiritually? While Mercury and the Sun in the 6th house will make you seek the answer to, how can I change this in my daily life? The T-square aspect from Uranus in your 3rd house during the eclipse can bring unexpected developments in the areas of communication, news, education, siblings, close environment, and mental processes. When Uranus is involved, things may not always go as planned. A phone call, an unexpected message, sudden news, or an idea you hadn't considered before could change your perspective on things. For example, you might reconnect with a sibling or close friend you haven't spoken to in a long time. You might learn something you didn't know before during a phone call. Or you might receive news related to your work life and make a new decision that completely changes your daily routine. The important thing here is not to react hastily. Aries, by nature, likes to make quick decisions. You may want to act immediately when something happens. However, this week it will be very beneficial for you to reread important messages, think things over before making an important decision, and not immediately accept every piece of information you hear as fact. Uranus sometimes brings unexpected developments, but it also provides a mental awakening. You might suddenly think, why have I always thought that way? You might realize that an idea you've long defended has changed. This actually shows that you are developing. The other important development of the week occurs on August 30th. While Jupiter is in Leo in your 5th house, it will form a trine aspect with Saturn in Aries in your 1st house. Thus, at the end of the week, the sky offers you a much more positive and constructive energy. The 5th house represents love, romance, creativity, hobbies, children, performing on stage, self-expression, and enjoying life. While Jupiter is in this house, you may want to show yourself more, reveal your talents, and dedicate time to things that make you happy. The trine that Saturn makes from your 1st house has the potential to make all of this more permanent. For example, if you've had a hobby for a long time and are wondering, can I make money from this? You might take it more seriously during this period. If you paint, you could plan an exhibition. If you create content on social media, you could make it more professional. You might find the courage to teach, provide consultancy, prepare a creative project, or share a talent you've long kept hidden. More warm and promising developments may also occur in your love life. If you're single, you might meet someone new in a social setting through a hobby or during a creative activity. If you're in a relationship, you can make more serious and concrete decisions about the future together. The best part here is the harmonious aspect between Jupiter and Saturn, because Jupiter magnifies Saturn's structures. So it's not just about an opportunity coming your way, but about turning that opportunity into something lasting. For example, you might receive a job offer, but what's important isn't just the offer itself, but how it will shape your life in the long term. A relationship might begin, but what's important isn't just the excitement, but how that relationship develops on a foundation of trust and responsibility. A project might emerge, but what's important isn't just the idea, but your ability to implement it in a disciplined way. Therefore, the week of August 24th to 30th has a very special message for you. First, let go of the burden of the past, then make room for the opportunity of the future. While the August 28th eclipse cleanses you internally, the Jupiter-Saturn harmony on August the 30th of May tell you now it's time to build something new. So the sky may be closing one door while opening another. But to pass through that new door, you need to stop waiting in front of the old one. Dear Aries, this week, ask yourself this question in particular. What in my life am I ready to let go of that no longer serves me? It could be a habit, a thought, a resentment from the past, a relationship that constantly tires you, or a negative belief about yourself that you've carried for years. Letting go isn't always giving up. Sometimes letting go is about creating space to build a new life for yourself. When you leave something behind, a void isn't created, most of the time that void is filled with something more right, healthier, and more suitable for you. Consider this week not as a week of endings, but as a week of cleansing and preparation. Don't push yourself too hard, rest if you need to, and instead of reliving past events, reflect on the lessons you learned from them. Set boundaries in your professional life, avoid hasty decisions in communication, calmly assess unexpected news, and make time again for things that truly make you happy. Because in the coming period, you may be able to present yourself as a stronger, more confident Aries who knows what they want better. Dear Aries, and those with Aries rising, the week of August 24th to 30th reminds you of this. Sometimes the biggest change in our lives begins within us, even when it seems like nothing is happening on the outside. While you will be evaluating the results of the past 2 years with the lunar eclipse on August 28th, you can prepare to take more solid steps towards the future with the Jupiter-Saturn harmony on August 30th. It's time to leave behind the things that drain you and turn to the areas that grow you, develop you, and reveal your true potential. If you can read the message of the sky correctly, this week can be much more than an ending for you. It can be the quiet beginning of a new and stronger period. And remember, dear Aries, not everything that leaves your life is a loss. Some things leave so you can return to yourself. Some doors close, so a much better one can open before you. Therefore, look at this week with confidence, not fear. Let go of the burden of the past. Listen to the message of today and walk towards your future with courage. Because sometimes what changes the course of life is not a big event, but a small but very powerful decision made from within. This week may be the time to make that decision. I wish you all a week filled with love, peace, luck, and positive developments. See you in the next horoscope reading. Dear Taurus, and those with Taurus rising, next week you may see much more clearly why some people stay in your life, why some people need to leave, and which circles truly support you for your future. You may even experience a development that allows you to understand why certain events from the past occurred. In particular, the lunar eclipse on August 28th at 4 degrees Pisces in your 11th house may bring to light the results of developments you've experienced over the past 2 years regarding your social circle, friendships, future plans, and dreams. It's possible to see the true face of a friendship, receive long-awaited news, see a change in your place within a group, join a new environment, or for a long-held goal to finally become a realistic plan. Therefore, don't think of the week of August 24th to 30th as an ordinary week, because the sky may be both settling accounts with the past and preparing a new path for the future. If you are a Taurus or have Taurus rising, I recommend watching this video to the end, because a development you might experience, especially towards the end of the week, could make you feel much more secure in the coming period. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell. Now, let's look together at what this powerful week can change in your life. The lunar eclipse in Pisces, which will take place in your 11th house on August 28th, will primarily activate the areas of your social circle, friendships, teams, communities, future goals, projects, and dreams. The 11th house doesn't only represent friends, it also shows the point you want to reach in the future. Therefore, with this eclipse, you may start thinking more about the question, what kind of environment do I want to build my life in from now on? Your environment may have changed significantly in the last 2 years. You may have realized that you can no longer talk about the same things with people you were once very close to. You may have grown distant from a friend. You may have met people you never knew before, entered a different social circle, or made new connections online. Now it's time to understand what all these experiences have taught you. For example, you may not feel as comfortable in a group of friends as you used to for the past 2 years. Everyone's life may have gone in a different direction, and your priorities may have changed. You may realize that you no longer share the same goals with people you once greatly enjoyed spending time with. In such a situation, this eclipse might bring you an awareness of, I'm moving in a different direction, rather than a feeling of, I'm losing them. Because people take on different roles at different stages of our lives. Some people walk with us for years, while others are only by our side for a certain period. This eclipse can help you start connecting with people who are right for where you want to be in the future. Similarly, if you have a dream you've long wanted to realize, this eclipse can show you what stage that dream is at. Perhaps you want to buy a house, start your own business, grow your social media presence, pursue a new education, or move to a different city. If you've taken various steps towards this over the past 2 years, you may now begin to see the results. An application might be approved, a project might be completed, a team effort might yield results, or you might meet an important person who opens a new door for you. Eclipses in the 11th house in particular can create a turning point in one's future. However, the most important thing here is to question whether your past goals are the same as your current goals. Because if you have changed, it is perfectly natural for your dreams to change as well. The eclipse's connection to the North Node suggests that a new direction that will allow you to grow may emerge. Therefore, even if you think some people entered your life by chance this week, pay attention to what they teach you. A new friendship, a new business connection, a new client, a social media connection, or a new acquaintance within a group could be far more important for your future than you anticipate. For example, a friend might invite you to an event. Even if you don't normally want to go, you might decide at the last minute. Someone you meet there could become an important business contact a few months later. Or an idea you hear during a conversation could be the beginning of a project you've been thinking about for a long time. Therefore, don't underestimate your social connections this week. On the opposite side of the eclipse, Mercury in Virgo in your 5th house is conjunct the Sun and in opposition to the eclipse moon. This situation may require you to strike a balance between your friendships and your private life, your social circle and your love life, your future plans and your personal happiness. On one hand, you might ask, what should I do for my future? While on the other, you might ask, what do I really want to do right now? For example, if you're trying to build a life according to the expectations of your friends or those around you, you might realize that you need to prioritize your own happiness more. Let's consider another example. Suppose everyone in your circle of friends has chosen a particular career path and you're trying to follow the same path under their influence. However, you actually possess creative talent and want to showcase yourself in a different field. This eclipse may make you question, should I live according to others' expectations or should I utilize my own potential? The goal here is not to distance yourself from people, but to rediscover yourself at the center of your own life. Healthy friendships don't diminish you. On the contrary, they help you grow. Therefore, after the eclipse, you may also see more clearly how the people around you react to your successes. Mercury and the Sun in the 5th house can also bring up issues related to children. If you have children, you may talk about their education, future, talents, or an important development in their lives. You may notice a talent of your child or make a new decision regarding them. For Taurus individuals planning to have children, thoughts about the future may increase. In addition, important conversations may arise in your love life. If you are in a relationship, the question, where are we taking this relationship, may be discussed more. If you are single, communication that starts through your social circle may turn into a romantic process. However, being open and clear in communication is especially important this week. Don't pretend to feel something you don't feel, and don't accept something you don't want just because others want it. The T-square aspect between the eclipse and Uranus in Gemini, located in your 2nd house, indicates unexpected developments in matters of money and financial security. While Uranus is in the 2nd house, changes in your income-making methods may arise. One source of income may end while another emerges. You might receive an unexpected payment, you might switch to a business model you hadn't considered before. The idea of earning income through the internet, technology, communication, social media, or new forms of work may come to the forefront. For example, a Taurus who has been working in a salaried job for a long time might realize they can make money from a hobby. This income, which may seem small at first, could turn into a significant gain over time. However, it's important not to make hasty decisions about finances under the influence of Uranus. Instead of taking risky steps with the thought of, I'll make a lot of money overnight, it would be wiser to review your income and expenses, because Uranus brings change, but managing the direction of that change is in your hands. For example, instead of immediately abandoning your current situation when a new job opportunity arises, you can first investigate whether this opportunity is sustainable. In this way, you can turn Uranus surprises to your advantage. On August 30th, a much more peaceful and hopeful influence of the week comes into play. Jupiter, transiting in Leo in your 4th house, will form a trine aspect with Saturn in Aries in your 12th house. This aspect can provide significant support for you in terms of home, family, living space, moving, real estate, family relationships, and inner security. Especially if you've recently experienced uncertainty regarding your home or family, an opportunity to establish a more stable order may arise. Moving house, buying a new house, expanding your home, renovating, or addressing a long-standing family issue in a more mature way may come to the forefront. For example, if you feel your current home is no longer sufficient, the idea of moving to a larger one may come up. Or if you've had a disagreement with a family member, this week you can find a common solution by listening to each other more calmly. With Jupiter in the 4th house, it's possible to find a warmer answer to the question, where do I belong? Saturn's position in the 12th house can help you let go of some fears and anxieties from the past. Perhaps you've been harboring an insecurity for years. Thoughts like, what if it doesn't work out? What if I don't have enough money? What if things don't go as planned? Maybe holding you back from time to time. But this week, you can learn to trust yourself more. This aspect can also give you a feeling of reaping the rewards of sacrifices you've made in the past. Perhaps you've worked for your family for a long time, putting yourself in the background, or patiently waited to achieve a goal. Now, you may want to put your own life on a more solid foundation. While Saturn gives you discipline, Jupiter opens up space for growth. Therefore, it's possible for you to take big but solid steps in the coming period. Instead of changing everything at once, you can make small but lasting adjustments. Even steps like organizing your household budget, reducing unnecessary expenses, creating a savings plan, and making your living space more peaceful can make a big difference in your life after a few months. Dear Taurus, looking at the general message of this week, we see that the sky is guiding you towards 3 important issues. Who do you want to walk with? What do you want to build in the future? And where do you feel safe? The lunar eclipse on August 28th could mark the end of one chapter and the beginning of a new one in your social circle and future plans. Uranus in your 2nd house may give you the courage to change the way you earn money. The Jupiter-Saturn Trine on August 30th can support you in making your life's foundation more solid. So the sky isn't just telling you that things are going to change, it's also showing that these changes can be used to build a more secure and meaningful life. Therefore, if someone leaves your life this week, don't immediately consider it a loss. Perhaps you're realizing you're not going in the same direction with that person. If a plan changes, don't get disappointed immediately. Maybe life is preparing a better option for you. If you experience an unexpected development in financial matters, instead of panicking, see if it's teaching you a new way to earn money. And especially if a good opportunity arises regarding your home, family, and private life, take it seriously, because at the end of the week, the sky may support you in building a more peaceful, secure, and stable life. Dear Taurus and those with Taurus rising, the week of August 24th to 30th may be an important period for you, where you begin to see the results of the past 2 years, realize who is truly by your side, and reshape your future. Perhaps some of your dreams will change, perhaps you will part ways with some people, or perhaps an unexpected connection will open a brand new door for you. But the common message of all this is the same. You no longer have to remain within the boundaries of your old life. There is the possibility of building a broader, more peaceful and freer life ahead of you. At the end of this week, ask yourself this question. What kind of life do I really want to live, and what small step can I take today to build it? Your answer can tell you a lot, because big changes don't always start with big decisions. Sometimes a good conversation with someone, sometimes submitting an application, sometimes moving house, sometimes preparing a budget plan, sometimes giving up a habit that no longer benefits. You can change the direction of your life. Just take control of your own future. Dear Taurus, remember, the sky doesn't decide for you, but by asking the right questions at the right time, it helps you see the path ahead more clearly. This week, let go of the burdens of the past and look to your future with greater confidence. Turn to the people who have helped you grow, the opportunities that have developed you, and the places that bring you peace. Because now is the time to hold on to only what is lasting, valuable, and truly yours. With the eclipse on August 28th, you can complete an old social cycle, and on August 30th, you can lay the foundations for a more secure and stable life. Therefore, look at the week with hope, not fear, because some endings are actually harbingers of the most beautiful beginnings in your life. I wish you all a wonderful week filled with peace, abundance, love, beautiful friendships, and opportunities that will brighten your future. See you in the next horoscope reading. Dear Gemini and those with Gemini rising, could you be on the verge of making a decision that will change the direction of your life? Is the result of a long-term effort finally arriving? Is a long-awaited career development knocking at your door? Or are you moving away from a life routine that no longer feels right and towards a completely different future? You may now see much more clearly how the developments in your career, family, home, and personal life over the past 2 years have actually prepared you for where you are today. Because the week of August 24th to 30th is quite important for you, and especially the lunar eclipse on August 28th at 4 degrees Pisces in your 10th house could create a powerful turning point regarding the direction of your life. Since this eclipse is connected to the North Node, it will not only show the results of your past experiences, but also pull you in a new direction that will help you grow in the future. Developments such as a job change, a promotion, a new responsibility, a change in your public image, the idea of starting your own business, or receiving the reward for a long-term effort may come to the fore. But there's another very important aspect to this eclipse. Mercury and Virgo in your 4th house conjuncting the Sun and opposing the eclipse moon may require you to re-establish the balance between your career and your family and personal life. Furthermore, Uranus in your 1st house forming a T-square aspect to this eclipse indicates that unexpected changes may occur in your personal life and identity. So, dear Gemini, this week, not only your external world, but also you are changing. I especially recommend watching the video to the end because a development that may occur at the end of the week could take your life to a very different point in the coming period. If this interpretation guides you, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell. Now let's examine in detail the messages the sky is giving you during the week of August 24th to 30th. The most important theme of the lunar eclipse in Pisces in your 10th house on August 28th will be your career, profession, public image, managers, work life, and the status you want to achieve in the future. In astrology, the 10th house describes what a person wants to be in life, the field in which they want to be recognized, and their stance towards the world. Therefore, this eclipse may strongly bring up the question, where am I going in my life? If you have experienced significant changes in your career over the past 2 years, you may now begin to reap the rewards of these changes. Perhaps you have shown patience at a workplace for a long time. Perhaps you have struggled for a new position. Perhaps you have prepared to start your own business. Or perhaps you have realized that your old profession is no longer suitable for you and have moved into a different field. Now you can see where all these processes have led. For example, if you have started to take on more responsibility at your workplace in the last 2 years, a new task or promotion may come your way during this eclipse period. If you have been waiting for a manager to notice you for a long time, you may see your work becoming visible. If you are self-employed, a larger client, a more important project, or an opportunity that will make you more visible to the public may arise. The idea of switching to a sector you never considered before may even come up. The important thing here is that the eclipse doesn't just tell you to make a change in your career, it also conveys the message to think about the work you really want to do. Because sometimes people progress in a field where they are successful for years, but at some point they realize that success and happiness are not the same thing. This eclipse can show you exactly that. Due to the influence of the North Node, the new path opening before you may initially be different from the one you are used to. For example, a Gemini who has worked in a corporate company for years may seriously consider the idea of starting their own consulting business. Another Gemini may start creating content on social media alongside their long-standing job, and over time realize that this area is a greater opportunity for them. Another may move into the management position they have desired for years, but realizing that this new role brings increased responsibilities in their life, they may restructure their work routine. Therefore, the change that this eclipse will bring may be different for each Gemini, but the common theme is the same, moving towards a more visible, more meaningful position in your life that serves your future. However, opposite the eclipse in the 10th house, Mercury and the Sun are in your 4th house. This indicates that you need to strike a significant balance between your career and your home and family life. While your career may want to grow, take on more responsibility, and be more visible, your home, family, and private life may demand your attention. For example, a new job opportunity might arise, but it could require more travel. A higher paying position might be offered, but your working hours might change. You could start your own business, but initially you might need to work more from home. In this case, the important question for you is not which should I choose, but how do I balance the two? Mercury and the Sun in the fourth house also indicate that important conversations may take place within the family. A decision concerning your mother, father, or an older family member might come up. You may experience developments such as moving house, relocating, buying a house, switching to a work-from-home arrangement, or taking on a new responsibility within the family. For example, if there's a possibility of moving to another city due to your career, you can discuss this in detail with your family, or a home renovation could make your work life more efficient. Therefore, this eclipse will show not only your career, but also the impact of your career on your life. The T-square aspect from Uranus in your first house places you at the center of all these changes. Since Uranus is in your first house, your identity, appearance, lifestyle, thoughts, and approach to life may already be changing for some time. You may start doing things you previously said, "I would never do that." You may want to be more free. You may want to distance yourself from people, environments, or habits that restrict you. You may want to change your appearance, switch to a different way of working, take a new course, or completely change the direction of your life. Some of these changes may surprise the people around you, because people who have known you for years may say, "You've changed so much." But this change is not always negative. Sometimes changing means becoming closer to yourself in the end. For example, let's consider a Gemini who has chosen a profession according to their family's expectations for years. Their family may have wanted them to work in a secure job. They may have progressed in this system for years, but now they may feel like doing something else. This is the kind of awakening you might experience when Uranus is in your first house. The question, "Am I living the life others want me to live or the life I want?" can become much more important. This week, you may gain the courage to find the answer to this question. You may not change everything immediately, but you can take the first step. You can do some research, enroll in a training program, apply for a new job, or start a project you've been putting off for a long time. Since Uranus also represents unexpected news, you may experience a sudden development in your career. A phone call, an email, an interview, or an unexpected offer can change your life plan. The important thing here is not to panic at first, because as a Gemini, your mind can work very quickly, and as soon as news arrives, you can start generating 10 different scenarios at once. This week, especially, thinking about important decisions several times, researching the details, and evaluating alternatives if possible will give you a great advantage. Another important development of the week takes place on August 30th. Jupiter, while moving through Leo in your third house, will form a trine aspect with Saturn in Aries in your 11th house. This aspect can provide excellent support for you in terms of communication, education, immediate environment, social media, trade, agreements, travel, and future social connections. With Jupiter in the third house, your words can reach more people. Speaking, writing, explaining, teaching, receiving training, or sharing an idea with others can bring you opportunities. If you do business through social media, your visibility may increase. If you are preparing a project, you can reach a wider audience. If you are considering giving training, you can find students. The trine that Saturn makes from the 11th house can enable these communication opportunities to create lasting connections for the future. For example, a post you make on social media might introduce you to an important person. Someone you meet in a training program could become your business partner in the future. A friend might refer a new client to you. The responsibility you undertake within a group or community can make you more visible. Here, Jupiter's power of amplification and Saturn's power of permanence work together. In other words, it's not just about talking, but also about putting a solid plan behind what you say. For example, if you're a Gemini and have long wanted to start your own business, you can take a very concrete step towards it around August 30th. A small step might seem insignificant, such as creating a website, professionalizing your social media accounts, developing a business plan, building a customer network, or taking a course. However, thanks to Saturn's influence, this small step can form the foundation for a larger structure in the future. Similarly, if you're preparing for an exam, starting a training program, or have an academic goal, progressing with discipline can bring you good results. This week, your social circle can also be important for your career. Saturn in your 11th house may make you more selective in your social life. You may no longer want to be equally close to everyone. You might prefer people who not only entertain you, but also help you grow. Advice from a friend could open a new door in your career. You might join a community or become part of a professional network related to your field. Therefore, don't underestimate the invitations, meetings, discussions, and connections you receive this week. Especially if you have a goal for your future, the connections you make with the right people can help you more than you anticipate. Dear Gemini, looking at the week of August 24th to 30th as a whole, we see a very powerful story. On one hand, the lunar eclipse in your 10th house is changing the direction of your career. On the other hand, the Sun and Mercury in your 4th house are asking you, how will you balance your private life and family while doing this? Uranus in your 1st house is accelerating your personal transformation, saying you are no longer the old you. At the end of the week, the harmonious aspect between Jupiter and Saturn gives you strong support in terms of communication, social circles, and future plans. In short, the sky is calling you to change on one hand and to build this change on a solid plan on the other. Therefore, don't just consider the developments that come your way this week as momentary events. A job interview may not just be a job interview. A phone call may not just be a phone call. A sentence from a friend may be the beginning of an important decision in your future. A family conversation may initiate a change you've been putting off for years. Even the feeling that suddenly arises within you, I don't want to live like this anymore, may be the first sign of a new phase in your life. Dear Gemini, and those with Gemini rising this week especially, look back at the efforts you've made in the past 2 years. See how far you've come. Perhaps what you have today was just a dream 2 years ago. Perhaps some of the challenges you faced then made you stronger. Now it's time to reap the rewards of those experiences. As a new chapter opens in your career, you may need to reshape other areas of your life to suit this new order. Position yourself according to your own future, not the expectations of others. Remember, dear Gemini, change doesn't always mean loss. Sometimes change is about getting closer to your life's true potential. Sometimes leaving a job is the beginning of moving to a better one. Sometimes moving to a new city creates a new environment in your life. Sometimes a friendship ends and is replaced by people who truly understand you. And sometimes a person's greatest achievement is leaving the path others have laid out for them for years and choosing their own path. This week, that might be exactly what's needed of you, to choose your own path and walk it with courage. At the end of the week, ask yourself, what kind of life do I want to be living 5 years from now? Don't just imagine your answer. Determine the first step you can take today, because the Jupiter-Saturn Trine on August 30th can support you in turning your dreams into a real plan. Write down an idea, make a phone call, have an interview, submit an application, research a training program, or start that project you've been putting off for so long. Big changes sometimes begin with a single small step. Dear Gemini and those with Gemini rising, the week of August 24th to 30th may not just be a week of celestial activity for you, but a crucial turning point where you can redefine the direction of your future. The lunar eclipse on August 28th opens a new chapter in your career, while Uranus in your 1st house may give you the courage to rediscover yourself. The Jupiter-Saturn Trine on August 30th shows that the connections you make with the right people and the communication you use correctly can create lasting results in your future. Therefore, don't be afraid of the doors opening before you. Don't underestimate yourself. You no longer have to remain within your old limitations. And remember, life sometimes shows us the direction we need, not the answer we want. If something changes this week, see where it leads you. If one door closes, try to notice the other door opening before you, because this period is a time for you to reshape your future by drawing strength from the experiences of the past 2 years. As the sky shows you a new path, walking that path is your choice. Trust yourself, don't be afraid of change, and take courageous steps towards your future. Because perhaps that new era you've been waiting for will begin with a small step you take this week. I wish you all a week filled with success, peace, prosperity, good news, and wonderful opportunities that will change your future. See you in the next horoscope reading. Dear Cancer, and those with Cancer rising, if you've been searching for an answer to a big question in your life for a while, this week you may find the answer in an unexpected way. Perhaps it's a country you've long wanted to visit, an education you've wanted to pursue, a lifestyle change you've desired, or a big dream you've wanted to realize. Or maybe you're trying to understand why certain events of the past 2 years have happened to you. Now the sky may begin to show you where all these events are actually preparing you for. In particular, the lunar eclipse on August 28th at 4 degrees Pisces in your 9th house could open the door to a powerful period that broadens your horizons, changes your perspective on life, and reshapes your future decisions. The fact that this eclipse is connected to the North Node indicates that a new direction supporting your growth may emerge. You may begin to reap the rewards of developments you've experienced in the last 2 years regarding education, overseas matters, travel, legal issues, academic studies, publishing, social media, work related to distant places, or your life philosophy. Moreover, the conjunction of Mercury and Virgo in your 3rd house with the Sun, opposite the eclipse, will require you to strike a significant balance between your immediate environment, siblings, communication style, and the decisions you make, as well as your long-term goals. Uranus in your 12th house may create a great awareness within you at an unexpected moment. At the end of the week, on August 30th, the trine aspect between Jupiter in Leo in your 2nd house and Saturn in Aries in your 10th house can help you establish a strong and lasting connection between money and career. So, dear Cancers, this week is not just a week of change. It's a period where you can begin to choose the direction of your life more consciously. If you are a Cancer or have a Cancer rising sign, I especially recommend watching this video to the end, because one of the developments I will describe may help you understand the reason behind a situation you are currently experiencing in your life. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell. Now let's look together at the developments the sky has in store for you during the week of August 24th to 30th. The most important message of the lunar eclipse in Pisces occurring in your 9th house on August 28th will be expanding the boundaries of your life. The 9th house represents a person's worldview, beliefs, higher education, academic studies, distant cities and countries, connections with foreigners, legal processes, publishing, and inquiries into the meaning of life. Therefore, this eclipse is not just about travel for you. In fact, it carries a much deeper meaning. Because the 9th house is the area where a person seeks answers to questions such as, where am I going in life? What do I believe in? And what kind of life do I want to build from now on? If you have experienced significant changes in these areas in the last 2 years, you may now begin to see the results of these changes. For example, you may have been pursuing a university education for the last 2 years. Perhaps you are doing a master's degree, preparing for an exam, or conducting academic research. During this eclipse period, a result that will allow you to reap the rewards of your efforts may come to the fore. The results of an exam may be announced, you may receive news from an application, you may be accepted into a training program, or it may be possible to complete a project you have been working on for a long time. For another Cancer, there may be a development related to overseas connections. Traveling abroad for work, acquiring clients from another country, working with a foreign company, or visiting a place you've long wanted to go may come up. For some Cancerians, the idea of living in another city or country may even become much more serious. The connection between this eclipse and the North Node is particularly important here, because this influence may show you that you need to step outside your familiar comfort zone. As a Cancer, security is very important to you. The people you know, the places you know, and the routines you're used to give you peace. But sometimes for life to grow, one needs to step outside of their comfort zone. This eclipse may make you ask yourself, should I stay where I know be or go where I can grow? For example, you may have lived in the same city for years, and a much better job opportunity arises in another city. Your first reaction might be, "But I have my family here, I have my routine, it's hard to leave everything." But after thinking about it for a while, you may realize that this opportunity is very important for your career and personal development. This eclipse can create exactly such an internal evaluation. Your worldview may have also changed in the last 2 years. You may now be questioning some ideas that you used to accept as absolute truth. Your perspective on people, relationships, success, money, or career may have changed. Perhaps in the past, the most important thing for you was to establish a secure life. Now you are asking yourself more often, am I really happy? Perhaps you used to value the approval of others, but now you want to pursue your own truths. Don't let this change scare you, because a ninth house eclipse often expands one's world. Sometimes, even without physical travel, one's mental world can reach very far. The conjunction of Mercury in Virgo in your third house with the Sun and its opposition to the eclipse moon makes communication particularly important. While on one hand, you may want to travel far, think big, and focus on the future. On the other hand, daily communications, documents, contracts, siblings, close friends, and short trips may draw your attention. Therefore, it's crucial to review small details before making a big decision this week. For example, you found an opportunity to study abroad and you're very excited. However, don't overlook the application deadline, necessary documents, financial conditions, or contract details. The realization of a big dream requires the correct management of small details. Mercury in the third house can also bring important conversations to the forefront. You might have a serious conversation with a sibling, a close friend, or someone close to you in your family. This conversation could change a decision you've made. For example, you're considering going abroad, and your sibling might offer you an alternative you've never considered before. Or a friend might tell you about a new educational program. Information you hear during a phone call could open an important door to your future. Therefore, this week, listen to suggestions from those around you before completely rejecting them. However, don't accept everything you hear without questioning it. Mercury in Virgo wants you to check the details. During this period, it will be beneficial to be careful, especially if it involves documents, applications, official correspondence, contracts, and legal matters. Read the details before signing a document. If you are submitting an application, double-check your information. If you have a travel plan, review the dates and reservations. Because while the eclipse brings a major shift in direction, Mercury tells you to ground this change on solid ground. Think big, but don't neglect the small details. The T-square aspect of the eclipse from Uranus in Gemini in your 12th house activates the unseen side of things. The 12th house is related to the subconscious, fears from the past, hidden processes, our inner world, the need for rest, and sometimes areas where we unconsciously limit ourselves. When Uranus is here, sudden realizations can occur within a person. You might wake up one morning and say, "I don't want to do it this way anymore," about something you've been thinking about for a long time. You might realize that a fear has been unnecessarily limiting you for years, or you might see how much an event from your past is affecting your current decisions. For example, you may have had a bad experience on a trip years ago and have been hesitant to travel abroad ever since. This week you may confront this fear. Perhaps you will be scared at first when a new travel opportunity arises, but later you will say, "Why am I limiting myself today because of an event from the past?" This is the kind of awareness that Uranus's influence in the 12th house can create. Similarly, you may be unable to apply for an education because of a fear of failure. This week, you may realize that this fear is actually unrelated to your current reality. Uranus in the 12th house also draws attention to rest. Thinking too much, constantly making future plans, and trying to control everything can tire your mind. Therefore, it will be beneficial to create a quiet space for yourself from time to time this week. Turning off your phone, taking a walk alone, spending time in nature, writing, or simply resting without thinking can do you good. Because sometimes the answers come not in intense thinking, but when you silence your mind. And now let's get to one of the most beautiful developments of the week. On August 30th, Jupiter will be in Leo in your second house, forming a trine aspect with Saturn in Aries in your 10th house. This aspect can create a very positive connection between money and career for you. While the second house represents your income, financial resources, earning methods, and possessions. The 10th house represents your career, profession, status, and public image. This harmonious aspect between these two areas can increase the likelihood of receiving financial rewards for the solid steps you've taken in your career. For example, if you've been taking on more responsibility at work for a long time but haven't been expecting compensation, a salary increase, promotion, or a new role may come your way. If you run your own business, you may see your business becoming more profitable. If you have a client portfolio, new clients may come your way. If you're earning money from a skill, you can make it more professional. The important thing here isn't the expectation of quick wealth, but establishing a stable income stream. Because while Saturn gives you patience and discipline, Jupiter offers opportunities for growth. Let's say you've wanted to start your own business for a long time but are hesitant due to financial reasons. Instead of making a large investment this week, you can start small. For example, you can start offering services online without quitting your current job. You can acquire a few customers, and once you see your income becoming regular, you can grow your business. This is a beautiful example of Jupiter and Saturn working together. Jupiter tells you to grow, while Saturn says grow solidly. This aspect can also support the recognition of your hard work in your career. A manager might notice your work. A project you prepared earlier might come up again. You might now reap the financial rewards of a step you took years ago. Perhaps an education you received in the past could open the door to a higher paying position today. Therefore, don't underestimate the investments you made in the past. Sometimes when people spend money on education, a course, or an experience, they want to see an immediate return. But the value of some investments becomes apparent years later. Dear Cancerians, considering the whole of this week, the sky is actually giving you a very clear message. Broaden your horizons, but keep your feet firmly on the ground. The lunar eclipse in your 9th house shows you a new world, while Mercury and the Sun in your 3rd house tell you to check the details. Uranus in your 12th house helps you break down old fears. And the Jupiter-Saturn Trine on August 30th supports you in building a solid future between your career and financial security. Therefore, take advantage of the opportunities that come your way this week, but don't make decisions out of fear. If an educational opportunity arises, research it. If a travel opportunity arises, examine the terms. If a job offer with international connections comes up, consider its long-term benefits. If a new role arises in your career, evaluate what it will add to you. If you experience a positive development regarding money, consider using it for your future instead of just spending it, because some processes that begin this week may affect not only your present, but also the years to come. It's especially important to take stock of the last 2 years. Turn to yourself and ask, what did I want 2 years ago, and what do I want today? Perhaps the answer has changed. This isn't a bad thing, because people change as they live. Someone who wanted a secure job 2 years ago might want to start their own business today. Someone who didn't want to leave their city 2 years ago might dream of living in another country today. Someone who cared about the opinions of others 2 years ago might stand by their own decisions today. The lunar eclipse can help you accept this change. Dear Cancer and those with Cancer rising, consider this week not an end, but the beginning of a new horizon. Because the lunar eclipse on August 28th is calling you to think more broadly, set bigger goals, and transcend the limitations of your life. Perhaps a journey will begin, perhaps an education, perhaps a new business connection, or perhaps a brand new life plan will form in your mind. Sometimes what changes a person's life isn't physically leaving their current location, it's changing their perspective on the world. You can experience this very powerfully this week. The Jupiter-Saturn Trine on August 30th can help you materialize all these big ideas. Turn your dream into a plan, break your plan down into steps, organize your income and expenses, clarify your career goal, invest in yourself, and most importantly, don't let your past fears determine your future, because now you have a much wider field ahead of you than before. Dear Cancerians, at the end of this week, ask yourself this question. If I weren't afraid, what step would I take in my life? Perhaps your answer will show you a new path, because sometimes what we need isn't more courage, but the acceptance that we can act despite our fears. You have already learned so much in the last 2 years. Now it's time to use what you've learned in your life. And remember, dear Cancerians and those with Cancer rising, life sometimes takes us out of where we are because it wants us to see a wider world. Be open to the opportunities that come your way this week, but examine the details carefully. Let go of your fears from the past, trust your future, and build a solid bridge between your career and your financial security. The eclipse on August 28th opens a new horizon for you, while the Jupiter-Saturn Trine on August 30th can support you in transforming this horizon into a real future. Perhaps the news you've been waiting for will arrive this week, perhaps an unexpected opportunity will knock on your door, or perhaps the biggest change will begin within you. In any case, the message from the sky is beautiful. Your world is expanding, your perspective is broadening, and you are taking more solid steps towards your future. Trust yourself, listen to your heart, and walk fearlessly on the new path that opens before you. Because sometimes the most beautiful period in our lives begins when we dare to step outside the boundaries we're used to. I wish you all a week filled with love, peace, abundance, success, and wonderful opportunities to beautify your future. See you in the next horoscope reading. Dear Leos, and those with Leo rising, you are entering a period in your life where you may see the true value of certain people, relationships, and financial matters much more clearly. A long-standing financial issue may be resolved, a past debt or payment may be settled. You may make an important decision regarding a partnership, or you may free yourself from something that has emotionally bound you for years. You may even experience a development that makes you say, "Why didn't I realize this sooner?" Because the week of August 24th to 30th holds much deeper meanings for you than what is apparent on the surface. In particular, the lunar eclipse on August 28th at 4 degrees Pisces in your 8th house may bring to the forefront the results of processes you have experienced over the past 2 years regarding shared finances, debts, loans, inheritance, investments, financial sharing, privacy, trust, and emotional bonds. The fact that this eclipse is connected to the North Node may allow you to break free from the burdens of the past and move towards a stronger future. Moreover, the conjunction of Mercury and Virgo in your 2nd house with the Sun, opposite the eclipse, will require you to establish an important balance between your own earnings and the resources you share with others. Uranus in your 11th house may bring unexpected developments regarding your friendships, social circle, and future plans. At the end of the week, on August 30th, Jupiter in Leo in your 1st house, forming a trine aspect with Saturn in Aries in your 9th house, can take you to a much stronger, more confident and future-oriented point. So, dear Leos, this week isn't just about things changing. Your outlook on life, how you trust people, your money management, and your expectations for the future are also being reshaped. If you are a Leo or have a Leo rising sign, I especially recommend watching this video to the end, because a development you will experience at the end of the week may make you feel much stronger in the coming period. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell. Now let's examine in detail the messages that the week of August 24th to 30th holds for you. The lunar eclipse in Pisces on August 28th, occurring in your 8th house, illuminates an unseen but extremely important area of your life. In astrology, the 8th house represents shared finances, your spouse's or partner's income, bank loans, debts, taxes, inheritances, insurance matters, investments, financial partnerships, and shared resources. But the 8th house isn't just about money. It also represents trust, privacy, emotional attachments, transformation through crises, and feeling reborn. Therefore, this eclipse can create a process of cleansing and transformation for you, both financially and emotionally. If you've experienced a significant period in one of these areas over the past 2 years, you may now begin to see the results. Perhaps you struggled for a long time to pay off a debt. Maybe you took out a loan and changed your repayment plan. Maybe you made a joint investment with your spouse. Maybe an inheritance issue from a family has been unresolved for years. Or perhaps you experienced trust issues in a relationship. Now you may reach a turning point in all these areas. For example, you may have been paying off a loan for the past 2 years. This loan may have severely strained your budget. During this eclipse period, it may be possible to restructure the payment plan, pay off a significant portion of the debt, or find a solution that will provide you with more comfort. For another Leo, A joint investment opportunity may arise. You might want to buy a house with your spouse, start a business, or make a joint financial decision. Another Leo may receive a resolution regarding an inheritance or division of property from a family. In such matters, it's not just about reaching a conclusion, but about you starting to act more consciously financially. Because eighth house eclipses often make people ask themselves, how dependent am I on others, and how can I increase my own power? Therefore, reassessing your financial life is crucial this week. How much is your income? How much are your expenses? Who do you share financial responsibilities with? Which payments are unnecessarily burdening you? And which investments are truly serving you? You can review all of this. For example, as a Leo, you might realize you've been paying for some unnecessary subscriptions or expenses for a long time. Another Leo might find themselves the constant financial support provider within the family. In this case, they might understand that it's time to set boundaries. Helping is good, but you don't have to jeopardize your own financial security by taking on all of others' responsibilities. This eclipse can teach you to build a stronger financial structure. The conjunction of Mercury in Virgo in your second house with the Sun and its opposition to the eclipse moon brings up the balance between my money and other people's money. The second house represents your own earnings, possessions, personal budget, and sense of financial security. While you may experience developments related to shared resources, you may also make new decisions regarding your own income. For example, your spouse's income might change and you may need to calculate how this will affect your budget. Or conversely, your income might increase and paying off a shared debt might become necessary. Therefore, clear and straightforward communication about money will be crucial. Because Mercury is in Virgo, you may be much more careful about details. Be sure to check the details in matters such as bank transactions, contracts, loan terms, taxes, insurance, or official documents. Even the small print in a contract can be important. If you are making a payment plan, double-check the numbers. If you are considering an investment, don't make a decision without researching the risks. The aim here is not to be afraid, it is to act consciously, because the eclipse wants to make you financially stronger. To be strong, you first need to know where your money is going. This opposition can also bring up the issue of self-worth. The second house is not just about money. It also describes the value a person places on themselves. Sometimes in a relationship or partnership, we may compromise our self-worth simply because we are afraid of losing. We might accept less than we deserve, saying things like, as long as they don't leave, as long as there are no problems, or as long as our partnership doesn't break up. This eclipse may show you that you shouldn't behave that way anymore. You don't have to give up on yourself for someone to stay in your life. You don't have to carry all the financial or emotional burden alone to keep a relationship going. True trust is being able to connect with someone without losing yourself. The eclipse's T-square aspect from Uranus in Gemini in your 11th house can create surprising developments in your social circle. When Uranus is in the 11th house, friendships, groups, teams, social media connections, and future plans can change unexpectedly. You might part ways with a friend over an unexpected issue, but at the same time, you might enter a new and very different environment. For example, you might realize that you no longer feel comfortable in a group of friends you've been with for a long time. People's goals may have changed and your priorities may have shifted. Even if you see this as a loss at first, over time, you may realize that it's actually a liberation for you. Uranus can also indicate opportunities coming through social media, technology, and the internet. A post you make might unexpectedly attract attention. You might gain a new following. You might meet a new client online. A friend might offer you an unexpected business opportunity. For Leos who are self-employed or active on social media, the connections that come in this week could be particularly important. However, due to the nature of Uranus, everything can happen very quickly. Therefore, instead of making big decisions in the heat of the moment, evaluate whether the opportunity is sustainable. Since the 11th house also represents dreams for the future, some of your future goals may change during this eclipse period. For example, you may have wanted to buy a house for years. But due to changes in shared finances, loans, or investment conditions, you may have to change the shape of this goal. Perhaps another investment method you hadn't considered before might come your way, or a new business model suggested by a friend could change your future. The important thing here is not to blindly stick to the old plan. Sometimes the goal remains the same, but the path to achieving it changes. Dear Leos, emotional transformation is very powerful during 8th house eclipses. Therefore, you may confront some fears from the past. You may find it difficult to trust someone. You may not be able to fully open yourself to a new relationship because of a past disappointment. Or you may be trying to control everything because you are afraid of being abandoned by someone. This eclipse can show you the difference between controlling and trusting. You cannot control everything, but you can set your own boundaries, knowing what to accept and what not to accept. That's where real power begins. For example, let's consider a Leo starting a new relationship. They may have been cheated on in a past relationship or experienced serious trust issues. Even though their new partner is well-intentioned, they may constantly be acting on their past fears. This eclipse can bring them the awareness that this person is not the same person as in the past. Letting go of the past can create great liberation. Similarly, if a past failure in your professional life is preventing you from taking advantage of a new opportunity, you can now let go of that fear. And now let's move on to one of the strongest supports of the week. On August 30th, Jupiter will be in Leo in your first house, forming a trine aspect with Saturn in Aries in your ninth house. This is a truly significant sign of empowerment for you. Because Jupiter is in your first house, you may already be feeling the urge to assert yourself more, be more visible, gain self-confidence, and grow in your life. Jupiter here tells you to believe in yourself. Saturn in the ninth house can support this self-confidence through education, expertise, academic goals, international connections, law, publishing, or a process that develops your worldview. For example, if you've wanted to pursue a particular course of study for a long time, you can plan it more seriously during this period. You could enroll in a certificate program, set an academic goal, or begin long-term work in a field you wish to specialize in. Saturn demands patience, while Jupiter provides motivation. So instead of thinking, I'll learn everything in a month, you can achieve much stronger results by saying, I will specialize in this over the next 2 years. International connections can also be supported. Topics such as studying, working, traveling, or doing business with foreigners in another country may come to the forefront. For example, you may receive news about an overseas program you previously applied for. A company may offer you a project related to a foreign country. You may plan a trip to a place you've long wanted to visit. Here, Saturn's influence shows that this journey may not only be for pleasure, but also an experience that will contribute to your future. Jupiter in the first house is also quite supportive in terms of personal branding, visibility, and self-confidence. If you have a job, you may want to promote yourself more. You may be less hesitant to appear in front of people than before. You may present a project, appear in front of the camera, be more active on social media, or turn your name into a brand. Especially if you have been thinking, am I good enough, for a long time, this aspect can give you more strength to believe in your own abilities. Dear Leos, when we consider the whole week, a very important transformation story emerges. The lunar eclipse in your 8th house is transforming you in terms of shared finances and emotional bonds. Mercury and the Sun in your 2nd house are asking you to reevaluate your own financial power and self-worth. Uranus in your 11th house can change your social circle and future plans. Jupiter in your 1st house can ultimately make you stronger, more confident, and more visible. Saturn in your 9th house provides discipline to transform this newfound strength into a lasting future. Therefore, don't be alarmed by any financial developments this week. If a debt is being paid off, you can establish a new financial structure afterwards. If a partnership is ending, you can strengthen your own resources. If a friendship is ending, you may meet people who support you more. If a plan is changing, perhaps a more suitable plan is emerging. Because when Uranus and the lunar eclipse work together, it may not be easy to understand the changes life presents you with at first. But after some time, you may experience developments that make you say, I'm glad it happened this way. This week, focus especially on reducing your financial dependencies, strengthening your own income sources, and planning your future more consciously. Communicate openly about shared finances. Review your budget regarding your own money. Reduce unnecessary expenses. If a new income opportunity arises, investigate it. If you are considering an investment, don't hesitate to seek professional advice. In your emotional relationships, try not to carry the fears of the past into your current relationships. Because sometimes new people come into our lives, but we evaluate them through the lens of our past experiences. Dear Leos and those with Leo rising, when you think about the events you experienced in the last 2 years, you may have found some of them very challenging, but now you can see what those experiences taught you. Perhaps you learned to set stronger boundaries. Perhaps you improved your money management. Perhaps you started to understand people better. Perhaps you realized which relationships weren't good for you. Perhaps you understood that you no longer have to prove yourself to anyone. This eclipse can bring all these lessons to a conclusion. And the Jupiter-Saturn Trine on August 30th tells you, now it's time to invest in yourself. Get an education, develop a new expertise, learn a foreign language, connect with different cultures, broaden your world, and showcase yourself more. But do this patiently and systematically, because the coming period may be a time of not only lucky opportunities, but also lasting success for you. Dear Leos, at the end of this week, ask yourself this question: what burden do I no longer want to carry in my life? This could be a debt, a fear, an insecurity, a past relationship, or a thought that constantly drags you down. When you identify what you need to let go of, much more energy can open up before you. Because sometimes, for something new to grow in our lives, the old must first make way. Remember, being strong isn't about controlling everything. Being strong is about accepting what you can't control while making the right decisions about your own life. This week, you can learn exactly that. You can become more conscious about money, more selective in relationships, more free in your social circle, and more courageous about your future. While the lunar eclipse on August 28th will profoundly transform you, the Jupiter-Saturn Trine on August 30th may give you the opportunity to carry this transformation into a stronger future. Dear Leos and those with Leo rising, a new chapter is opening in your life. The experiences of the past 2 years are no longer just events of the past. They are becoming the foundation of the strength you possess today. There may be a new order in shared finances, stronger boundaries in relationships, changes in your social circle, and growth in your personal life. Therefore, approach this week with confidence, not fear. Don't let the things that leave your life diminish you. On the contrary, fill the space they create with new opportunities. And dear Leos, remember, sometimes the greatest wealth in our lives is not the money in our bank account, but the confidence we have in ourselves and our ability to manage our own lives. This week, you can rediscover this power. You can free yourself by paying off a debt, become stronger by letting go of a fear, open a new door to your future by meeting a new person, and lay the foundation for a completely different life by investing in yourself. With the eclipse on August 28th, let go of the burdens of the past. Look to your future with the confidence Jupiter gives you on August 30th, and transform your dreams into a real plan with Saturn's patience. Because ahead of you lies not only greater opportunities, but also a new period where you will feel much stronger. The sky is telling you, believe in yourself, know your worth, and build your future with courage. Just heed this call and don't be afraid to take the first step. I wish you all a week filled with abundance, peace, love, strong relationships, good news, and wonderful opportunities that will beautify your life. See you in the next horoscope reading. Dear Virgos and those with Virgo rising, the presence or absence of someone in your life this week may reveal a very important truth to you. Perhaps the direction of a long-standing relationship will become clearer. Perhaps you will make a decision about a partnership, or perhaps an unexpected person will enter your life and change your perspective on the future. For some Virgos, this week may even make the answer to the question, what do I want in my relationships now, much clearer? Because the week of August 24th to 30th is an extremely powerful period for you, especially in terms of relationships, marriage, partnerships, contracts, and important people in your life. The lunar eclipse on August 28th at 4 degrees Pisces in your 7th house may bring to the forefront the results of developments you have experienced in the area of relationships and partnerships over the past 2 years. The connection of this eclipse to the North Node may guide you towards relationships that will grow and develop you in the future. A relationship becoming serious, a decision to marry, the beginning or completion of a partnership, the conclusion of a contract, or the natural closure of a relationship that no longer serves you may come to the fore. Moreover, the conjunction of Mercury in Virgo with the Sun in your 1st house, opposite the eclipse, will require you to strike a crucial balance between relationships and your own needs. Uranus in your 10th house may create an unexpected change in your career and public image. At the end of the week, on August 30th, The Trine aspect between Jupiter in Leo in your 12th house and Saturn in Aries in your 8th house may bring relief regarding shared finances, debts, financial responsibilities, and some psychologically draining issues. So, dear Virgos, this week isn't just about one relationship changing. You're also relearning how you position yourself within your relationships. If you are a Virgo or have a Virgo rising sign, I especially recommend watching this video to the end, because a development you might experience at the end of the week could take both your personal life and career in a different direction in the coming period. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell. Now, let's look together at the developments the sky has in store for you during the week of August 24th to 30th. The lunar eclipse in Pisces on August 28th, occurring in your 7th house, will bring important relationships in your life to the forefront. The 7th house is associated with marriage, serious relationships, business partnerships, consulting relationships, contracts, and significant one-on-one connections. Therefore, during this eclipse, the question, "Who am I walking this path with?" may become central to your life. If you've been in a relationship for the past 2 years, you may realize how it has changed you. Perhaps you've overcome great difficulties together. Perhaps the topic of marriage has come up. Perhaps you've experienced a major crisis in your relationship, and this crisis has bound you even more closely. Now may be the time to see the results of all these experiences. For another Virgo, conversely, it may become clear that a long-standing relationship can no longer continue in the same way. The goal here isn't necessarily a breakup. Sometimes an eclipse changes the shape of a relationship. For example, two people who were dating might start talking about marriage. A married couple might move into a new home together. Business partners might decide to expand their company, or two people who have worked together for years might develop a new partnership model. Because of its connection to the North Node, this eclipse can show you the direction you should move forward in the future. A new person may enter your life, revealing something about yourself you never realized. For example, a Virgo who has long said, "I don't want a relationship," might meet someone in an unexpected setting with whom they feel very comfortable. This person might be different from your usual relationship model, perhaps more free-spirited, creative, or understanding. At first you might think, "This person isn't for me," but over time you may understand why they came into your life. Because the North Node sometimes brings us into contact with people who push us outside our comfort zone. This could also be a significant turning point for Virgos in relationships. Especially if you've made major decisions with your partner over the past 2 years, you may now see the results of those decisions. Issues like buying a house together, moving, having children, starting a business, or deciding to live in another city may have come up. This eclipse can show where these processes are headed. If your relationship has a strong foundation, you may experience a development that strengthens your bond. If there have been long unaddressed issues, they may now become apparent. However, not every problem that becomes visible is bad, because being able to see a problem is the first step to solving it. The conjunction of Mercury and Virgo in your first house with the Sun, opposite the eclipse, particularly emphasizes the importance of not forgetting your own needs in relationships. Virgos can sometimes focus too much on solving their partner's problems in a relationship. They may put their own needs second while considering their partner's needs. They might compromise themselves, saying, "Let them be happy, let there be no problems, let the order not be disrupted." This week, however, the sky is asking you, "So what do you want?" This question is very important, because a healthy relationship is not a system where one person constantly pleases the other. It's a balance where both sides can express themselves. For example, your partner might be constantly busy with work, and you might postpone your own needs to reduce their stress. But after a while, resentment might build up inside you. This week, you can talk about it openly. You can learn to say, "I want attention too. I have needs too. I need your support on this." These conversations can strengthen your relationship instead of weakening it, because true intimacy isn't about avoiding problems. It's about building the trust to talk about problems. Mercury in the first house also indicates that your thought process will be very active. You might overanalyze a relationship. Questions like, "They said that. What did they mean? Why did they behave like that? What will happen in the future?" might occupy your mind. The important thing here is not to try to figure everything out in your head. Sometimes it's much easier to ask someone directly than to guess what they're thinking. Mercury in Virgo gives you the power to see details, but excessive analysis can lead to anxiety. Therefore, be open and clear in your communication. The eclipse's T-square aspect to Uranus in Gemini in your 10th house indicates that unexpected developments may occur in your career. You may need to strike a balance between relationships and career. A partner might decide to move due to their job. There could be a sudden change in your career. A new manager might arrive at your workplace. Your work routine might change. You might suddenly take on a new role. You might even consider leaving your long-term job and moving to a different sector. For example, your partner might receive a very good job offer in another city. In this case, you may also need to make a decision about your career. The question, should I quit my job for them, might arise. Instead of making a hasty decision, it would be wiser to consider the future of both parties. Perhaps there's an opportunity for remote work. Perhaps it's possible to commute between the two cities for a while. Perhaps a new job opportunity will arise for you in that city as well. The changes brought by Uranus are not always one-sided. Sometimes a change can turn into an opportunity for both people to build a new life. There could also be an unexpected development in your career. You might suddenly receive an offer from a high-level manager. You might be put in charge of a project you've undertaken on social media, or the internet might attract attention. You could become visible in an area where you thought you'd been unnoticed for a long time. However, because Uranus's influence is rapid, you might initially worry, can I do this? Here, you need to have confidence in yourself, because sometimes life presents us with an opportunity sooner than we think we're ready. When that opportunity arises, it's possible to learn and move forward. On August 30th, Jupiter in Leo in your 12th house, forming a trine aspect with Saturn in Aries in your 8th house, brings out a much calmer and healing side to the week. The 12th house is related to the subconscious, the past, closures, spiritual rest, and unseen processes. Jupiter here can give you the opportunity to let go of some burdens from the past. Saturn in the 8th house can bring a more serious and disciplined approach to debts, shared resources, and financial responsibilities. You may find a lasting solution to a debt that has been bothering you for a while. For example, if you have a joint debt with your spouse, you can reorganize the payment plan. A loan matter may become clearer. An inheritance or insurance process may be finalized. You may make a more solid decision about a joint investment. Here, Saturn wants lasting results rather than quick results. Therefore, patience is important. Even if all financial problems are not solved at once, you can build a structure that will relieve you in the long run. For example, setting aside a small amount for savings each month, reducing unnecessary expenses, and clearly sharing common financial responsibilities can provide great relief in the future. Jupiter in the 12th house can also offer an opportunity to heal a fear from the past. Perhaps you've been afraid to fully trust a relationship for a long time. Maybe you're constantly thinking, what if the same thing happens again? Because of a past financial problem. This week, you may realize how much this fear is controlling your life. While Saturn in the 8th house teaches you to make realistic plans, Jupiter in the 12th house can support you in letting go of unnecessary fears. So, neither act completely impulsively, nor stop your life because of fear. Make a solid plan, and then trust the flow of life a little more. This week, you may especially need to be alone and think. You may want to turn inward instead of talking to too many people. This isn't a negative thing. Sometimes, to make an important relationship decision, you need to step away from everyone's opinion. Your partner, family, or friends may tell you different things, but in the end, you are the one who will live your life. Therefore, listen to your inner voice when making decisions. Dear Virgos, the week of August 24th to 30th may be a week for you to establish a balance between me and us. The lunar eclipse in your 7th house shows you the important people in your life, while Mercury and the Sun in your 1st house remind you not to forget yourself. Uranus in your 10th house creates surprises in your career, while Jupiter in your 12th house helps you get rid of the burdens of the past. Saturn in your 8th house wants you to strengthen your material and emotional bonds. Therefore, if an important decision comes up in a relationship this week, don't panic immediately. First, see where it's leading you. If a relationship is becoming serious, discuss its future. If a partnership is being formed, clarify the terms. If a relationship is ending, consider what freedom it brings you. If there is a change in your career, evaluate its long-term consequences. If a new responsibility arises regarding money, manage it in a planned way, because many of the events this week can make you more conscious, stronger, and more selective. Think about what you have learned in your relationships in the last 2 years. Perhaps you learned to set boundaries. Perhaps you realized that not everyone is as selfless as you are. Perhaps you've realized that a relationship thrives not only on love, but also on mutual respect and responsibility. Perhaps you've learned that you shouldn't tie your self-worth to the attention someone else gives you. Now is the time to apply these lessons to your life. Dear Virgos and those with Virgo rising, the August 28th lunar eclipse could be a significant turning point for you in the realm of relationships. A relationship might be defined, a partnership strengthens, a new person enters your life, or a bond that no longer helps you grow may naturally end. But whatever scenario unfolds, the eclipse's core message remains the same. Choose relationships that serve your future. Walk with people who help you grow, not diminish. Love without neglecting your own needs. While trying to understand the other person, don't forget to understand yourself as well. The Jupiter-Saturn Trine on August 30th will strengthen you internally and help you take more solid steps in financial matters. Therefore, spending some time alone at the end of the week, reflecting on the past, making financial plans, and thinking about your future could be very beneficial. Perhaps you will quietly plan a new phase of your life. From the outside, it may not seem like a huge change, but internally you may have made a very important decision. Dear Virgos, at the end of this week, ask yourself this question. Am I walking in my life with people who truly help me grow? Your answer will tell you a lot. If your answer is yes, nurture these relationships even more. If no, don't be afraid to build a new environment and a new future for yourself. Because sometimes the biggest change in a person's life doesn't happen by losing a relationship, but by rediscovering themselves within that relationship. And remember, dear Virgos and those with Virgo rising, while some doors close in your life, others may open even more strongly. This week you may experience clarity in your relationships, surprises in your career, restructuring in financial matters, and significant relief in your inner world. The experiences of the past 2 years are no longer there to tire you, but to guide you. On August 28th, with the lunar eclipse in Pisces, realize which relationships belong to your future. On August 30th, with the support of Jupiter and Saturn, let go of the burdens of the past and begin to build a more solid future. Position yourself according to your own true needs, not the expectations of others. Because true relationships, true partnerships, and true success emerge in bonds built without losing oneself. Dear Virgos, if you were to summarize this week's message from the heavens in a single sentence, learn to walk together without forgetting yourself. You can both love and set boundaries. You can both support and protect your own needs. You can both maintain a relationship and pursue your own goals. As a new era unfolds before you, your task is to focus not on your fears, but on the opportunities for growth that life offers you. Perhaps a single conversation with someone this week will change the direction of your life. Perhaps a job opportunity will take you to another city. Perhaps a financial issue will be resolved, bringing a relief you haven't felt in a long time. Or perhaps the biggest change will happen within you, and you will say, I am no longer the old me. All of these could be signs of a new era. Trust yourself, keep your heart open, protect your boundaries, and look to your future with hope. Because some encounters are not coincidences, some closures are not losses, and some beginnings come precisely when you realize you are ready. I wish you all a week filled with love, peace, happiness, strong relationships, financial security, and wonderful opportunities to brighten your future. See you in the next horoscope reading. Dear Libra and those with Libra rising, what would you think if I told you that a seemingly small development in your life this week could actually completely change the course of the coming period? Perhaps a decision you make in your professional life, a small change in your daily routine, a matter you've been putting off for a long time, or unexpected news could take you to a completely different place. In particular, the lunar eclipse on August 28th at 4 degrees Pisces in your 6th house may make visible the results of the efforts you've put into your work life, daily responsibilities, health, and lifestyle over the past 2 years. The North Node connection of this eclipse may guide you towards a healthier, more organized lifestyle that serves your future. A change in work routine, a new task, a new work environment, a new responsibility, or a reassessment of a long-neglected lifestyle habit may come to the forefront. Moreover, the conjunction of Mercury in Virgo in your 12th house with the Sun, opposite the eclipse, will allow you to become aware of the fatigue and mental burdens in your inner world while focusing on the outside world. Uranus in your 9th house can bring unexpected developments regarding education, overseas travel, distant places, academic studies, and your perspective on life. At the end of the week, on August 30th, Jupiter in Leo in your 11th house forming a trine with Saturn in Aries in your 7th house may indicate strong support from your social circle, friends, and important relationships. So, dear Libras, this week is not just an ordinary week of intense work for you. It's a significant period where many areas of your life, from your work routine to your social circle, from your inner world to your future goals, can be reshaped. If you are a Libra or have a Libra rising sign, I especially recommend watching this video to the end, because one of the developments I will describe may help you understand the reason behind a situation you are currently experiencing in your life. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell. Now, let's examine together the developments the sky has in store for you during the week of August 24th to 30th. One of the most important messages of the lunar eclipse in Pisces, occurring in your 6th house on August 28th, will be to make your life more organized and sustainable. The 6th house describes your daily life, working conditions, tasks, responsibilities, colleagues, daily habits, and how you take care of your body. Therefore, during this eclipse period, you may ask yourself, do I have to continue my life like this? Perhaps you've been working very intensely for a long time. You wake up early in the morning, try to get your work done throughout the day, and by evening you may have no energy left for yourself. Even if you seem to be in control of everything from the outside, you may have accumulated serious fatigue inside. This eclipse can offer you the opportunity to change your lifestyle. If you have taken on significant responsibilities in your work life in the last 2 years, you may now begin to see the results. Let's consider a Libra. Let's say they started a new job 2 years ago. Initially, they may have struggled a lot, gotten used to new people, learned the new system, and made a great effort to prove themselves. In the time that has passed, they may have gained experience, their responsibilities may have increased, and they may now have become one of the important people in the job. During this eclipse period, a promotion, a change of role, a new work arrangement, or the recognition of one's efforts may occur. Another Libra, conversely, may realize that their current work arrangement is no longer satisfactory. In this case, the eclipse may support a transition to a healthier and more sustainable way of working rather than quitting a job. Eclipses in the 6th house often highlight the importance of small details in daily life. For example, you might be working late every day. When you get home, you eat irregularly because you don't want to cook. On weekends, you try to unwind completely. After a while, you might feel constantly exhausted. This week, you might start thinking, why am I living like this? Small changes like sleeping more regularly, readjusting your work hours, taking short breaks during the day, going for walks, or dedicating more time to yourself can significantly improve your quality of life. The key message here isn't about striving for perfection, but about establishing a sustainable routine. The North Node connection is particularly noteworthy because it can pull you in the direction of your future growth. Old habits may feel safe, but they may no longer be moving you forward. For example, you may have insisted on the same way of working for years. You might say, I'm used to working this way. But technology has changed, working methods have changed, and your responsibilities may have changed. This eclipse may force you to switch to a new method. Even if it's difficult to adjust at first, you may find that your life has become much easier after a while. The 6th house is also related to service. Libra is often successful at seeing the needs of those around them. They can solve the problems of colleagues, take on responsibilities within the family, and try to make everyone's job easier. However, there is an important point to consider here. You don't have to take on everyone's responsibilities. This week, learning to say no, delegating tasks, and protecting your own time can be very important. For example, a colleague at work may constantly leave their work to you. You may accept this to avoid disrupting the atmosphere. But if this situation is exhausting you in the long run, you may need to set boundaries. This eclipse can show you the difference between helping others and carrying the responsibilities of others. The conjunction of Mercury in Virgo in your 12th house with the Sun and its opposition to the eclipse moon highlights the mental and emotional side of the intensity you're experiencing in your work life. The 12th house represents the subconscious, the past, the inner world, hidden anxieties, and the burdens one carries within. Therefore, you may realize how exhausted you are on the inside while appearing strong on the outside. Perhaps you've been telling everyone, "I'm fine," for a long time, but you actually need to rest. Maybe you're constantly thinking about the next task and can't seem to turn your mind off it. Being honest with yourself is important this week. Because Mercury's in Virgo, your mind may get bogged down in details. You might repeatedly think about a sentence you said in the past or carry a small mistake you made in a business meeting in your mind for days. Thoughts like, "I wish I hadn't said that," or "Was I misunderstood?" may arise, but remind yourself you don't have to do everything perfectly. Being human includes making mistakes. Mercury in the 12th house may prompt you to analyze the past, but use this not for self-criticism, but for self-understanding. You may want to be alone during this period. This doesn't mean you have to distance yourself from your surroundings. Sometimes, to hear your own voice, you need to reduce the noise outside. Putting your phone aside for a while in the evenings, sitting in a quiet place, writing down your thoughts, or simply resting can be very beneficial. Especially if you constantly try to meet the expectations of others, it's crucial to listen to your own needs this week. The T-square aspect of the eclipse from Uranus in Gemini in your 9th house brings a surprising intellectual dynamism to your life. The 9th house is related to education, academic studies, overseas travel, distant cities, foreigners, travel, publishing, law, and life philosophy. Uranus here can create an unexpected development. A sudden educational opportunity may arise. You may have the chance to travel to a country you hadn't considered before. You may receive a job offer from a foreign company. You may establish an international connection online. For example, you may have wanted to get training related to your profession for years, but keep putting it off. One day you see an advertisement for a training program on social media and unexpectedly become very interested. When you start researching, you may realize that this is an important opportunity for your career. Or a friend may tell you about the possibility of working abroad. Even if you initially think, "I can't do that," you may later see that it is actually an opportunity that can expand your life. When Uranus is in the 9th house, thoughts also change. You may question some ideas that you previously accepted as absolute truth. Your perspective on life, relationships, success, and career may change. For example, you may have thought for years that you have to work hard to be successful. This week, however, you may realize that working hard is just as important as working hard. Or you may let go of the thought, "I have to please everyone," and start saying, "My desires are important in my life too." These kinds of mental shifts sometimes create bigger results than external events. Uranus in the 9th house can also indicate sudden developments related to travel. An unplanned trip may come up. You may need to go to another city for work. You might travel for a training course or seminar. Even someone you meet during this trip could give you a new perspective on your future. Therefore, be open to different experiences that come your way this week. Not every new person or every new journey has to be permanent, but it can give you a new point of view. And now, let's move on to one of the most positive developments of the week, the Jupiter-Saturn Trine on August 30th. Jupiter, while transiting in Leo in your 11th house, will form a trine aspect with Saturn in Aries in your 7th house. This aspect can provide strong support for you in terms of your social circle, friendships, future plans, and important relationships. While the 11th house represents your dreams for the future and your social connections, the 7th house describes important one-on-one relationships in your life. The harmony between these two areas shows that the connections you make with the right people can strengthen your future. For example, a friend might offer you an important job opportunity. Someone you've known for a long time might involve you in a new project. A partnership might be offered. You might reach a wider network through a client or business connection. It might be important to let go of the thought, I have to do this alone during this period. Because sometimes success isn't about doing everything alone, but about establishing the right collaborations with the right people. Jupiter in the 11th house can also expand your social circle. You might meet new people, join new groups, or reconnect with a group of friends you've been distant from. However, since Saturn is in the 7th house, these relationships may be more serious and long-term rather than superficial. So, some people who enter your life during this period might not just be short-term friends. They could become important business partners, consultants, clients, or life partners in the future. This aspect can be especially valuable for Libras who run their own businesses. You can gain new clients through your social network. A friend might recommend you for a project. Someone you meet at an event could turn into a long-term business connection. A social media campaign you do could reach a wider audience. However, due to Saturn's influence, it's important to be selective instead of accepting every opportunity. Read contracts, clarify responsibilities, and discuss mutual expectations up front. This aspect can also work positively in terms of relationships. A friendship could potentially develop into a romantic relationship. If you are in a relationship, you can make serious plans for the future with your partner. For example, starting a business together, buying a house, living in another city, or planning a shared future might come up. While Saturn makes the relationship more serious, Jupiter gives hope for the future. Therefore, a more concrete answer to the question, where are we taking this relationship, may emerge. Dear Libras, one of the most important themes of this week will be balance. Balance is one of the strongest themes of your sign. However, sometimes you may compromise too much to maintain balance. This week, you may realize that true balance isn't about doing what everyone wants. True balance is about including your own needs in your life. Work if you want to, but also make time to rest. Support others, but don't exhaust your own energy. Value a relationship, but don't forget your own goals. Think about your future, but don't neglect living in the present. Think about the developments you've experienced in your professional life over the past 2 years. Where have you come from? What responsibilities have you taken on? What habits have you changed? Perhaps you've achieved a lot, but you've never told yourself about it. Maybe you've advanced in your career, but as a price, you've reduced the time you dedicate to yourself. Maybe you've become accessible to everyone, but inaccessible to yourself. Now the sky is telling you, show the same care to yourself. Therefore, you can consider the August 28th lunar eclipse as a time for cleaning and reorganizing. Even organizing your workspace can symbolically benefit you. You can separate things you don't use. You can restructure your daily schedule. You can reduce unnecessary meetings. You can give up habits that waste your time. As you create more space in your life, you may see your energy increase. For example, if you spend a long time on your phone every morning before starting work, you can change that. You can dedicate the first half hour of the morning to yourself. You can limit your daily to-do list to 3 main priorities. Instead of finishing everything on the same day, you can complete the important ones. These small changes can make a huge difference over time. Because the 6th house eclipse shows us that big changes in life sometimes begin with small habits. Dear Libra and those with Libra rising, this week a new balance is being established between your work routine, inner world, education, and future plans, and social relationships. The lunar eclipse on August 28th will make you aware of routines that are no longer sustainable, while Mercury and the Sun in your 12th house are calling you to inner cleansing. Uranus in your 9th house may show you a new world. The Jupiter-Saturn Trine on August 30th suggests that connections with the right people can strengthen your future. Don't immediately judge the changes you encounter this week as good or bad. First, see what they are trying to teach you. If there's been a change at work, perhaps you're moving to a better work routine. If you've had a falling out with a friend, perhaps you need to move to different circles. If a travel opportunity arises, perhaps this trip will open a new career door for you. If a relationship is becoming serious, perhaps a solid partnership is being formed for your future. Life sometimes doesn't give us direct results. It first sends us events that will prepare us for a new outcome. Dear Libras, at the end of this week, ask yourself this question. Am I truly living my life the way I want, or am I just continuing in the way I'm used to? This question can create a very powerful awareness for you, because habits provide security, but growth doesn't always happen within habits. Sometimes it's necessary to switch to a new routine, take a new course, meet new people, or change your way of working. Especially if you've felt overwhelmed with responsibility in the last 2 years, it may be time to lighten your load. You don't have to do everything perfectly. You don't have to keep up with everyone. You don't have to solve every problem. Sometimes even saying, I'll do this tomorrow, not today, is a valuable gift you can give yourself. Resting isn't laziness. Taking time for yourself isn't selfishness. On the contrary, you need to conserve your energy for long-term success. And one of the best messages the Jupiter-Saturn Trine on August 30th might give you is this. You don't have to build your future alone. Connect with the right people, choose the right partnerships, and keep the people who support you in your life. But while doing this, also protect your boundaries, because Saturn will show you the responsibility of the relationship, while Jupiter will show you the growth that the relationship can bring. Dear Libra and those with Libra rising, this week may be the beginning of a new life for you. Perhaps your work life will change, perhaps your daily habits will be renewed, perhaps you will let go of mental burdens from the past, perhaps your world will expand with an educational or travel opportunity, or perhaps alongside all this, a very important person will enter your life and you will begin to plan your future together. Remember, decisions that change the direction of your life are not always made in big and dramatic moments. Sometimes it starts with waking up in the morning and saying, from today onwards, I will take better care of myself. Sometimes it starts with saying yes to a job offer, sometimes with setting boundaries in a relationship, and sometimes with applying for an education you've been putting off for years. This week, you can make one of these small but powerful beginnings. Dear Libras and those with Libra rising, with the lunar eclipse in Pisces on August 28th, tidy up the clutter in your life, let go of tiring habits, and reorganize your work and life routines. With the message of Mercury and the Sun in your 12th house, cleanse your mind of unnecessary burdens from the past. Be open to the surprises that Uranus in your 9th house will bring, because an unexpected education, journey, or idea could open the door to your future. With the Jupiter-Saturn Trine on August 30th, appreciate the support you receive from your social circle and important relationships. By the end of this week, perhaps everything won't be completely changed, but you may have changed. You might look at your daily life from a different perspective, redefine the boundaries of your work routine, set bigger goals for your future, and better understand the value of the people who enter your life. That's the real change. And dear Libras, if I had to summarize the message of the sky this week in one sentence, when you organize your life, you create more space for your future. New opportunities lie ahead. New people, new ideas, new paths, and new goals may be waiting for you. As you reap the rewards of your hard work over the past 2 years, you can now move away from exhausting routines and embrace a lifestyle that empowers you. Trust yourself, don't be afraid of change, listen to your body and soul, build strong bonds with the right people, and don't postpone your future. Because sometimes the best period of our lives begins the moment we truly start taking good care of ourselves. I wish you all a week filled with peace, happiness, health, success, abundance, great job opportunities, strong friendships, and wonderful developments that will brighten your future. Remember, dear Libras, the thing that will change your life this week may not be a big event, but a small but right decision. The moment you choose what is right for yourself, the balance of your life will begin to shift. See you in the next horoscope reading. Dear Scorpio and those with Scorpio rising, have you ever wondered why certain doors in your life just won't open? Or have you experienced periods where, just when you thought everything would stay the same, an exciting development suddenly emerged? The week of August the 24th to 30th describes exactly such a period for you, because this week, the sky indicates a very powerful turning point, especially regarding your love life, your children, your creativity, your hobbies, the joy you derive from life, and the things that truly make you happy. The lunar eclipse, occurring on August 28th at 4 degrees in Pisces, takes place in your fifth house, and this eclipse can make visible the results of experiences accumulated in your life over the past 2 years. In other words, you can see where the steps you took in the past, the decisions you made, the developments you expected, and perhaps a matter you've been working on for a long time have come to. Moreover, this is not an ordinary eclipse. Because it is a North Node eclipse, it carries an influence that directs you towards the future, growth, and a more meaningful aspect of your life. Therefore, don't just consider the developments you experienced this week as done and dusted, because the sky might actually be writing the first sentences of a new chapter in your life. Before we start the video, if you are a Scorpio or have a Scorpio rising sign, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell. This way, you won't miss the other astrology interpretations I've prepared for you in the coming weeks. Now, let's take a much closer look at the messages the sky is giving you during the week of August 24th to 30th. Dear Scorpios, at the center of this week is the lunar eclipse in Pisces, which will take place in your fifth house on August 28th. In astrology, the fifth house doesn't only mean love and romance. It also describes how a person enjoys life, their creativity, hobbies, courage to perform, productivity, matters related to children, and areas of life that make them feel special. Therefore, evaluating this eclipse only in terms of what will happen in my love life would be incomplete. This eclipse asks you a much more important question. What do I really do that makes me happy? Over the past 2 years, you may have lived according to others' expectations, fulfilled your responsibilities, focused on your work, family, finances, or future plans. But amidst all this, you may have put your own happiness second. Now the sky wants you to hear the voice of your heart again. Perhaps you'll return to a hobby you've wanted to pursue for a long time. Perhaps you'll finally bring to life a project you've been putting off for years, or perhaps the direction of a relationship in your love life will become much clearer. The important point here is not just that the eclipse brings you a result, but that it makes you realize what is truly valuable in your life. I especially want you to think about what you've experienced in your love life over the past 2 years. If a relationship started, you can look at where it is today. If a relationship ended, you can realize what it taught you. If you've been single for a long time, you can now understand much more clearly what kind of relationship you want. For example, let's consider a Scorpio. For the past 2 years, they've constantly focused on their work, strived greatly to advance in their career, and always put their private life second. This person might now meet someone at a social event, through a friend, or completely by chance. The important thing here isn't just the emergence of a new love. What's truly important is that this person begins to say, I no longer want just success in my life, I want happiness too. That's the very spirit of a fifth house eclipse. You might remember that your life isn't just about responsibilities. Enjoying life, being loved, creating, and making time for things that excite your heart are also important parts of life. This eclipse can also bring significant awareness regarding issues related to children. If you have a child, a development in their life could mark the beginning of a new phase for you. Education, talent, success, moving, a new school, or another change in their life may come to the forefront. For Scorpios who want to have children, this issue may become more prominent in the coming period. However, it's important to view this eclipse not as a promise of a definite event, but as the emergence of these themes in your life. Similarly, for Scorpios who are involved in creative work, art, content creation, writing, drawing, music, or wanting to turn their hobby into a business, this is a very noteworthy period. If you have a talent that you've been thinking about for a long time, wondering, can I really make money from this, that you can now start to take it more seriously. Perhaps what started as a small hobby could turn into a significant source of income for you over time. Perhaps your self-confidence will increase as people recognize your talent. But the eclipse on August 28th has another very important dimension. Mercury, located in Virgo in your 11th house, is in conjunction with the Sun and in opposition to the Moon during the eclipse. This situation may indicate that you need to strike a balance between your individual happiness and your social circle, friends, and future plans. Lately, you may be more aware of the influence some people in your circle of friends have on your life. While some friendships strengthen, Others may naturally fall behind. There's no need to think negatively here, because sometimes people leaving our lives aren't a loss for us, but rather an opportunity to make room for new people and new experiences. Especially in your friendships, you might ask yourself, am I really going in the same direction as these people? A comment from a friend, a conversation within a group, or a development in a social setting may cause you to reevaluate your goals. Mercury's conjunction with the Sun makes your thoughts, plans, and communication style more visible, while its opposition to the Moon may create a conflict between your mind and heart from time to time. For example, a group of friends might invite you to a joint project, while you might actually want to dedicate time to your own creative project. Or while those around you say, you should do this, you should choose this path, you may feel something completely different in your heart. This week, listening to others' opinions is important, but you also need to listen to your inner voice when making the final decision, because the North Node eclipse wants to guide you towards your own growth rather than the expectations of others. How you feel about yourself becomes as important as how others see you. Another important influence is the T-square aspect between Uranus in Gemini in your 8th house and the eclipse. The 8th house is associated with shared financial resources, debts, loans, investments, inheritance, your spouse's or partner's financial situation, sharing, and psychological transformation. Uranus can bring unexpected developments here. You may need to be more flexible, especially in matters involving financial sharing. For example, there might be a change in your spouse's income, a new decision might be made regarding a joint investment, an unexpected payment might arise, or there might be a different development regarding money you've been waiting for a long time. However, Uranus's aim is not always to force you. Uranus often changes the usual order, moving you to a more free system. Therefore, a development that seems surprising at first might turn into a result that you'll say, I'm glad it happened this way a few months later. This T-square can also transform you emotionally, because while the eclipse in your 5th house asks you, what do I want? Uranus in the 8th house may bring up the question, how can I build my own power without being dependent on anything? If you need too much approval from the other person in a relationship, you may realize this. If you constantly rely on another person's support in a financial matter, you may want to create your own economic plan. Or you may realize that an event from the past is still affecting you and decide to let go of this emotional burden. Therefore, the eclipse can work not only with external events, but also with a powerful awareness that occurs internally. As we approach the end of the week, the energy of the sky becomes more constructive and supportive. On August 30th, Jupiter, progressing in Leo in your 10th house, forms a trine aspect with Saturn in Aries in your 6th house. This aspect can be very valuable for you, especially in terms of career, work life, responsibilities, and daily routine. While Jupiter is in the 10th house, it increases your potential to expand your career, become more visible in society, achieve success, and encounter broader professional opportunities. Saturn in the 6th house teaches you to build a solid foundation through hard work, discipline, daily routine, and responsibility. The harmonious aspect of these two planets tells us, if you want to grow, establish order. Instead of just waiting for luck, you can achieve greater results in your career by taking consistent steps in your daily life. For example, let's consider a Scorpio. They've long wanted to take on more responsibility at work, but haven't been able to fully prepare for it. During this period, this person could change their work system, take new training, start a certificate program, or organize their tasks more professionally. As a result, they might attract the attention of their manager or be considered for a higher position. Here, Jupiter shows you the opportunity, but Saturn tells you that you need to be ready for it. In other words, the sky is telling you, the door will open, but prepare yourself to pass through it. This period can also be quite supportive for Scorpios who want to make a career change. You may feel a strong motivation to apply for a new job, have an important meeting with your manager, become more visible in your work, grow your own business, or take a long-term project to a professional level. Especially if you've worked hard in the last 2 years, you may now start to see the rewards. Sometimes results don't come immediately. Where Saturn is, the rewards of hard work appear slowly but permanently. Therefore, if a door opens this week, remember that it is the result of your long-term efforts. Looking at the entire week of August 24th to 30th, we see a beautiful story. At the beginning of the week, you realize what your heart desires. In the middle, the results of the past 2 years come to light. You make some decisions regarding your circle of friends and future plans. You may need to establish a new arrangement regarding shared finances. At the end of the week, you find the opportunity to create the discipline and order you need to grow in your career. In other words, the sky isn't throwing you from one area to another. On the contrary, it's trying to connect different parts of your life. This week, be sure to ask yourself this question. Am I living my life only to fulfill my responsibilities, or am I also making room for things that truly make me happy? Because the lunar eclipse in your fifth house makes the answer to this question very important. Perhaps you've been taking yourself too seriously for a while. Perhaps you've been constantly thinking about the future. Perhaps you've postponed things you love because of money, work, family, or responsibilities. Now life is reminding you to enjoy, create, love, and show your own light again. Starting a hobby, spending more time with a loved one, embarking on a creative project, performing on stage, creating content for social media, or simply pursuing a long-delayed dream could all be the manifestation of this eclipse in your life. Dear Scorpios, this week's message is quite clear. Your past experiences have brought you to where you are today, but you don't have to let the past determine your future life. The lunar eclipse on August 28th will bring an assessment of your experiences over the past 2 years, while the North Node may guide you towards greater happiness, creativity, and the life your heart desires. Uranus in your 8th house urges you to be more flexible in some areas, while Mercury and the Sun in your 11th house may prompt you to rethink your social circle and future goals. The supportive aspect between Jupiter and Saturn on August 30th reminds you that career growth isn't just about dreaming. It's about taking consistent and determined steps. Therefore, instead of fearing the changes that come your way this week, consider them signs that are guiding you on the right path. And remember, sometimes the most beautiful beginnings in our lives come from the ending of something. A friendship might change, a relationship might move to a different dimension, a work arrangement might transform, or a financial plan might be reshaped. Even though all this may seem uncertain at first, over time you may realize that your life is actually heading in a more positive direction. Scorpio energy in particular shouldn't fear transformation, because your greatest strength is your ability to be reborn in changing circumstances. This week the sky reminds you of exactly that. Listen to your heart, take the lessons from the past with you, but don't give up on walking towards the future. Dear Scorpios and those with Scorpio rising, during the week of August 24th to 30th, make more room for the aspects of your life that make you happy. Calmly evaluate the results of the past 2 years, recognize who you are aligned with in your social circle, and take small but steady steps towards your career goals. Because some developments beginning this week may mark the start of a process that could change not just a few days, but the direction of your life in the coming period. When you strike a balance between what your heart desires and the realities of your life, you can become both a happier and stronger Scorpio. Wishing you the opportunity to recognize the opportunities the sky brings, to believe in yourself, and to courageously make room for the things you truly want in your life. See you in the next video. Take good care of yourselves, and remember, life sometimes closes a door so that it can open another one that is much better for you. Dear Sagittarius and those with Sagittarius rising, this week you may experience a development in your life that, at first glance, seems like just a matter of home, family, or moving, but you may realize it is actually changing the direction of your future. In fact, long-awaited news, an important family decision, or a change in your place of residence could unexpectedly lead you to a new life. The week of August 24th to 30th is not an ordinary week for you, because the lunar eclipse in Pisces at 4 degrees on August 28th occurs in your 4th house, and this eclipse may make visible the results of processes you have experienced over the past 2 years. Moreover, because it is a North Node eclipse, it carries a very powerful message guiding you towards the life you want to build in the future, rather than remaining stuck in the past. If you have experienced significant events in the last 2 years regarding your home, family, parents, city, moving, settlement, family structure, or feeling secure, you can now see more clearly where this process has led. Perhaps a challenging issue will finally be resolved, perhaps you'll move into a living space you've long dreamed of, or perhaps you'll establish your own life and start a new chapter independent of the past. Before starting the video, if you are a Sagittarius or have a Sagittarius rising sign, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell. Because I will continue to interpret the important celestial events in detail for you in the coming period. Now let's look together at the messages the sky is giving you in the week of August 24th to 30th. Dear Sagittarians, the most important celestial event of this week is the lunar eclipse in Pisces, which will take place in your fourth house on August 28th. In astrology, the fourth house is connected to a person's home, family, roots, past, childhood experiences, elders, place of residence, and need to feel secure. Therefore, this eclipse may make the question, where and how do I want to build my life? Very important for you. When you think about the events you've experienced in the last 2 years, perhaps you made a change related to your home, perhaps you moved, perhaps you took on important responsibilities within the family, or perhaps you made important decisions about starting your own family. Some of you may have taken on the responsibility of dealing with an issue related to your mother or father. Others may have realized that a past family matter needs to be resolved. This eclipse could bring about the culmination of all these experiences. In other words, you may begin to see where the steps you've taken in the past 2 years have led. For example, let's say you're a Sagittarius who has been saving money to buy a house for the past 2 years. Perhaps you've done research repeatedly, looked at loan options, adjusted your budget, cut back on some expenses, and at times wondered, will I really be able to do this? An opportunity, a house option, or a financial development that arises around August 28th could take this process to a new stage. Another Sagittarius, conversely, may decide to leave their current home. Perhaps they no longer feel they belong where they are and want to start a new life in another city. This eclipse could accelerate such a decision. The important thing here isn't just where you physically live. The real issue is finding the answer to the question, where do I feel peaceful and safe? Fourth house eclipses sometimes bring to light significant developments within the family. A change in the life of a family member could affect your own. For example, there might be a change in your mother's or father's lifestyle. A decision might be made regarding an elder family member, or a long unspoken topic might resurface. However, don't view this eclipse solely as a source of problems. Due to the emphasis on the North Node, the main goal here is to resolve a past issue in a way that will carry you into the future. In other words, a development within the family, even if it surprises you initially, could help you establish a more peaceful order in the long run. Sometimes, to move forward in life, we need to let go of some burdens we carry from the past. This eclipse can show you exactly that. The eclipse in Pisces can significantly strengthen your emotional side. Lately, you may have been trying to appear strong, control everything, or constantly plan for the future. However, this week you may need to pause and listen to your feelings, because Sagittarius, by nature, loves to look forward, explore new places, set new goals, and find freedom. But the eclipse in your fourth house might tell you, remember where you came from before moving forward. Making peace with your past, resolving some emotional issues related to your family, or changing a thought you've carried since childhood could give you great freedom. You might especially notice some patterns you learned from your family. For example, you may have been told in childhood, first do your duties, then you can have fun. Therefore, in adulthood, you may have constantly chased after responsibilities and postponed your own happiness. This eclipse, however, has the potential to tell you now you can set the rules of your own life. Perhaps you will establish your own order in your own home. Perhaps you will make a life plan independent of your family. Or perhaps you will leave behind a past story that has emotionally affected you for years. This is why you can view the August 28th eclipse not only in terms of external events, but also as a powerful emotional cleansing within yourself. The conjunction of Mercury in Virgo in your 10th house with the Sun and its opposition to the eclipse moon is also quite noteworthy. Because here you may need to strike a balance between home and family matters and your career and public image. On one side, your home, family, and private life. On the other, your career, responsibilities, and role in society. Both areas may demand your attention simultaneously. For example, you may have taken on an important task at work, but at the same time, a move or a family matter may arise. You may need to make a decision about your home while preparing for a meeting, or while seizing an opportunity for career advancement, you may have to consider its impact on your city or family life. The message the sky is giving you here is not you have to choose one. The real message is to establish a new balance between the private and professional aspects of your life without making them enemies of each other. For example, if you've been living away from your family for a long time because of your job, you may now want to get closer to them. Or if you've postponed your career goals because of your family's expectations, you may now want to forge your own path. For a Sagittarius, this awareness can be very valuable, because sometimes people give up their own dreams to make their family happy, and sometimes they put their emotional ties too far in the background in order to be free. This eclipse can teach you to find a healthier middle ground between the two. Mercury in the 10th house can also bring up important career-related conversations. This could involve a meeting with a manager, a new job offer, a job change, a promotion, a change of duties, or an important decision regarding your future career plans. You may experience a period where a career decision is linked to a change of residence or relocation. For example, you might receive a job offer from another city, or you might need to live elsewhere due to a promotion in your current job. Although this situation may initially make you think twice, over time you may realize that this is a gateway to a new phase of your life. Another significant indicator of the eclipse is the T-square aspect between Uranus in Gemini in your 7th house and this eclipse. The 7th house is related to relationships, marriage, partnerships, collaborations, and important one-on-one connections. Uranus here can bring surprises and unexpected developments in the realm of relationships. A connection may be made between your home and family life and your relationship. A move might be on the agenda due to your partner's job. Your partner might make a new decision. If you are in a relationship, you may feel the need to create a more independent structure for the future of your relationship. For single Sagittarians, it's possible that someone with a different character, free-spirited, intelligent, communicative, or unconventional, may enter your life. The important thing here is not to be afraid of the change brought by Uranus. Uranus sometimes changes our plans, but it often does so to move us towards a more independent life. For example, consider a Sagittarius who has lived in the same city for years. One day, their partner might say, "A new job opportunity has come up in another city." At first, this decision might seem to disrupt your entire routine. But a few months later, you might find that you've established a much more peaceful life in your new city. Or conversely, you might feel the need to set your own boundaries due to your partner's constantly changing plans. In such a case, the eclipse can show you that you need to express your own needs in the relationship. By August 30th, a more relaxing and supportive energy comes into play. Jupiter, progressing in Leo in your 9th house, will form a trine aspect with Saturn in Aries in your 5th house. This aspect can create significant opportunities for you in terms of education, academic studies, distant places, foreigners, travel, legal matters, life philosophy, and big plans for the future. While Jupiter already creates a strong theme of growth and expansion in the 9th house, Saturn's support from the 5th house can help make this growth permanent. So during this period, it may become possible not only to dream, but also to make your dreams tangible. For example, let's consider a Sagittarius who has long wanted to pursue education. Perhaps they want to start a new university program, learn a foreign language, specialize or participate in an international educational program. Here, Saturn says, take it seriously and work consistently, while Jupiter says, this path can help you grow. Therefore, around August 30th, you may make an important decision regarding education and personal development. For another Sagittarius, it could involve a job with international connections, travel, or an encounter with a new culture. Another Sagittarius might finally be able to realize a long-desired trip. This aspect is also supportive for creative endeavors. Saturn in your fifth house tells you to take your hobbies and talents seriously. If you write, create content, are involved in art, teach, or want to develop a skill, you can now take it to a more professional level. For example, a Sagittarius who has been creating content on social media for years can make it more regular during this period and reach a wider audience. What seems like a small project at the beginning can eventually turn into a serious undertaking. While Jupiter opens up space for growth, Saturn provides the discipline to ensure that growth is lasting. Looking at the week of August 24th to 30th, two important issues are simultaneously taking shape in your life. On one hand, you are reorganizing family, home, and security matters from the past. On the other hand, you are expanding your vision for the future in education, travel, career, and life. Therefore, this week can be a week of building a bridge between the past and the future. Your old routine may no longer be enough for you. However, you may not yet know exactly what your new routine should be like. This is where the beauty of the eclipse comes in. You don't have to solve everything at once. First, it's enough to realize what you want to leave behind and what kind of life you want in the future. Dear Sagittarians, this week, especially ask yourself this question. Am I really living a life where I feel I belong? Because sometimes we can be very successful, earn a lot of money, have a significant career, but when we return home, we may not feel at peace. Sometimes we may have a perfect home, but our heart may be somewhere else. The August 28th lunar eclipse reminds you that how you feel on the inside is more important than how you appear on the outside. When you start making decisions that strengthen your inner peace, you may find that your career, relationships, and future goals also take shape in a healthier way. Therefore, don't immediately label this week's developments as good or bad. One door closing could be another opening. A move could be the beginning of a new life. A decision made within the family could help you gain freedom. An unexpected conversation in your relationship could actually lead you to understand each other better. A difficult decision regarding your career could lead you down a more successful professional path. A step you take regarding education or travel could change the direction of your life in the coming years. Dear Sagittarius and those with Sagittarius rising, the week of August 24th to 30th teaches you to look to the future with courage while honoring the past. The Pisces lunar eclipse on August 28th restructures your home, family, roots, and emotional security, while Mercury and the Sun in your 10th house make your career goals more visible. Uranus in your 7th house may reveal the need for a new order in your relationships. The harmonious aspect between Jupiter in your 9th house and Saturn in your 5th house on August 30th offers you a solid opportunity for progress in education, travel, creativity, and big goals for the future. So the sky is actually telling you you can rebuild your life. Don't let your past experiences limit you, because you are not defined by your past. You can write a new story of your life with the decisions you make from now on. Perhaps you've been dreaming of owning your own home for a long time. Maybe you want to live in another city. Maybe you want to leave a family issue behind. Maybe you want to start a new chapter in your relationship. Maybe you want to go abroad, get an education, or take your life in a completely different direction. This week, all these issues have one thing in common: building a life of your own. When you listen to the message of the sky, when you start pursuing your growth instead of your fears, a much wider path can open up before you. Remember, dear Sagittarians, sometimes the biggest changes in our lives don't begin with an external event, but with a decision we make within ourselves. The moment you say, I don't want to live like this anymore, the first step towards your new life is taken. The August 28th eclipse can bring you exactly this kind of awareness. Lighten the burdens of the past, choose the people and living spaces that are good for you, clarify the goals you want to achieve in the future, and take the first step, however small. Because the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction on August 30th shows how powerful results you can achieve when you turn your dreams into a real plan. Dear Sagittarius and those with Sagittarius rising, this week may be laying the foundations for a new order in your life. Consider every development at home, in family, relationships, or in your career as part of a larger story. The sky is inviting you not to be trapped in the past, but to use the experiences you've gained from the past to build a stronger life in the future. Trust yourself, don't be afraid of change, and be courageous to build the life your heart truly desires. because sometimes the best period of your life begins when you realize that the old order is no longer enough for you. I wish you peace, happiness, good news, and new opportunities to strengthen your future during the week of August 24th to 30th. See you in the next video. Take very good care of yourselves, and remember, the past is the beginning of your story, but you are the one who decides how the future will be written. Dear Capricorn and those with Capricorn rising, what would you think if I told you that a long-awaited piece of news, conversation, decision, or agreement in your life is finally coming to fruition? Perhaps there's something you've wanted to say for months. Maybe there's an education, application, contract, or official process you've been waiting for to be finalized, or maybe you want to clarify an issue with someone close to you. The week of August 24th to 30th could be a significant one for you, where these matters are set in motion, the results of developments from the past 2 years become visible, and some decisions that could change the direction of your life come to the forefront. In particular, the lunar eclipse occurring on August 28th at 4 degrees in Pisces takes place in your third house. Because this is a North Node eclipse, it could guide you towards a new form of communication, new information, new connections, and a new way of thinking that will carry you into the future. Consider what you've experienced over the past 2 years regarding education, communication, siblings, close relationships, social media, the internet, business, correspondence, agreements, short trips, or your mental perspective. Now you may reap the rewards of a period in all these areas. Moreover, the fact that the eclipse is taking an opposition from Mercury in Virgo, located in your 9th house, conjunct the Sun, and that Uranus in Gemini, in your 6th house, forms a T-square aspect with the eclipse, indicates that these developments will not be limited to communication, but may also connect to education, distant places, career plans, your daily routine, and your working life. On August 30th, Jupiter in Leo in your 10th house, forming a trine aspect with Saturn in Aries in your 4th house, brings a very strengthening effect on your career and family life at the end of the week. If you are a Capricorn or have a Capricorn rising sign, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell, because I will continue to interpret these important changes in the sky for you in detail. Now let's look together at which developments may stand out for you in the week of August 24th to 30th. Dear Capricorns, the most important event of the week is the lunar eclipse that will take place on August 28th at 4 degrees in Pisces. This eclipse is occurring in your 3rd house, which represents daily communication, conversations, correspondence, phone calls, agreements, education, exams, short trips, your immediate environment, siblings, cousins, neighbors, and your mental way of thinking. Therefore, it shouldn't be surprising if your life speeds up in the coming days, especially if your communication traffic increases. However, the most important aspect of this eclipse is that the developments you've experienced in these areas over the past 2 years are now reaching a conclusion. For example, if you started a new educational program 2 years ago, you may now reap the rewards. If you started an internet project, it may reach a wider audience. If you've been negotiating a business deal for a long time, you may now reach the signing stage. If there's a long-standing issue with a sibling, it may be resolved. Or you may realize that you've changed a thought you've been carrying in your mind for a long time. Capricorns generally think long and hard before making decisions, calculate responsibilities, and consider potential future consequences. This is one of your strongest traits. However, sometimes overthinking can delay taking action. The August 28th eclipse might tell you it's time to act rather than just think. Because an eclipse in Pisces, the 3rd house, can create significant clarity and awareness in your mental world, you might realize that a thought you previously believed to be absolutely true was actually limiting you. For example, if you've thought for years, I can't do this job, I'm too late for education, I can't make my mark on social media, or I can't start a new life in another city. This week you might understand that these thoughts aren't real, but rather limitations you've created. And sometimes, what changes a person's life isn't a major external event, but a single sentence changed in their mind. You can particularly leverage this eclipse in terms of communication. You might have an important conversation with someone you haven't spoken to in a while. You might have a job interview. If you're expecting a phone call or email, you might receive a reply. You might get a result regarding an official document, application, contract, or agreement. You might be accepted into a training program or learn the result of an exam. If you're in business, you might connect with a new customer, create a new sales channel, or reach a wider audience online. Written and verbal communication may become especially important for you. You may find that more doors open for you when you express yourself correctly. Let's give an example from real life. Imagine a Capricorn. They've wanted to start their own business for a long time, but haven't dared to leave their current job. For the past 2 years, they've been researching, taking training courses, meeting with people, and learning how to sell online. But they just can't seem to take the first step. Around August 28th, they might receive an unexpected offer from a client, or a meeting might result in the opportunity they need to start their business. Here, the eclipse doesn't just mean they will start a business. What's really important is that the knowledge and experience they've accumulated over the past 2 years will now translate into a tangible result. In other words, this eclipse could make something you've worked hard on finally visible. The fact that the eclipse is in opposition to Mercury in Virgo in your 9th house, conjunct the Sun, is very important, because the 3rd and 9th houses are 2 houses that are opposite each other. While the 3rd house describes the immediate environment and daily flow of information, the 9th house describes higher education, university, academic studies, specialization, foreigners, overseas travel, long-distance travel, law, beliefs, and worldview. Therefore, this week, a bridge can be built between what I know and what I need to learn. You may realize that you need to specialize more in a particular area. You might make a decision about education. You may experience a development related to abroad. You might plan a trip to a country you've long wanted to visit. You might meet with a foreign company. You might receive news about a legal or official matter. For example, let's consider a Capricorn who has long wanted to learn a foreign language. They know that a foreign language is necessary for advancement in their career, but they keep postponing it. A job opportunity that comes their way this week might make them say, "Now I must learn this." Perhaps they will enroll in a training program, perhaps start online classes, or perhaps get involved in a project related to abroad. The purpose of this eclipse is not just to bring an event, but to broaden your mental horizons. Because for Capricorn, it's easy to choose what's safe, but sometimes you need to step outside your known boundaries to grow. Mercury and the Sun in the 9th house also indicate that an important decision regarding your career goals may be discussed. You might ask yourself, should I continue in this job or should I specialize and move to another field? Topics such as starting a certificate program, pursuing a master's degree, studying in another field, or participating in an international project may come up. Especially if an opportunity arises that will improve you professionally, don't underestimate it, because sometimes big changes in our lives begin with an email, a phone call, or a meeting. The T-square aspect between Uranus in Gemini in your 6th house and the eclipse may create unexpected developments in your daily work routine. The 6th house is related to the work environment, working conditions, daily routines, responsibilities, and quality of life. Uranus here may want to change your long-standing routine. There may be a job change at your workplace. Your working hours may change. You may start working in a new team. You may become more involved with technology. Working from home, hybrid work, or a different work system may come up. You may want to completely change the methods you use in your daily life. For example, let's consider a Capricorn who goes to work at the same time every morning and works within the same routine. One day, their manager might tell them, "From now on, you will work from home on some days of the week." At first, this change may disrupt your usual routine. But after a few weeks, you might find that you can dedicate the time you used to spend commuting to yourself and that you're working more efficiently. That's exactly how Uranus works. It takes you outside of your usual routine, but in return, it can help you establish a more free and productive system. The same effect can also work in terms of health and daily life habits. The aim here is not to create fear, but to notice new routines that will improve your quality of life. If you have been sleeping irregularly for a long time, you may want to switch to a more disciplined sleep schedule. If you are not allocating enough time for yourself due to your working hours, you can change your schedule. If your mind is tired due to the intensity of technology and communication, you can create quiet spaces for yourself during the day. Especially if you consume a lot of information mentally, even learning to say, I don't have to know everything this week can be good for you. The T-square of Uranus to the 7th house and the eclipse axis shows that changes in your work life may also affect your relationships. For example, if you receive a new job offer, you may need to consider how this will affect your relationship or daily routine. Changes in your partner's work routine may affect your life. You may need to create a new work system within a partnership. The important thing here is to understand what the change teaches you instead of resisting it. Because sometimes when the order in our lives changes, our habits that no longer serve us also have to change. Another important message of the August 28th eclipse may be related to siblings and close friends. A significant development may occur in your sibling's life. A trip together, a move, a change of education or job may be on the agenda. You may reconnect with a sibling or relative you haven't seen in a long time. A neighborhood matter may be resolved. Someone close to you may bring important news. However, the most important thing to remember here is not to let changes in other people's lives unduly influence your own decisions. You can listen to others, but you must still take responsibility for your own path. Towards the end of the week, the sky presents a much more solid and supportive picture for you. On August 30th, Jupiter, progressing in Leo in your 10th house, forms a trine aspect with Saturn in Aries in your 4th house. This aspect can especially help you establish a strong balance between your career and family life. Jupiter in the 10th house expands the career area, increases visibility in society, and can create opportunities in terms of success and reputation. Saturn in the 4th house allows you to take more serious, regular, and lasting steps regarding your home, family, and life foundation. The harmonious aspect of the two planets tells you, if you strengthen your foundation, it will be easier to rise. Therefore, if you have a significant opportunity in your career, remember that it's the result of years of hard work. Let's consider a Capricorn. They've been working at the same workplace for years, fulfilling their responsibilities and supporting their family. At some point, their manager offers them a bigger role. Normally, this role means more responsibility, but now the experience the Capricorn has gained over the years has prepared them for this role. Such an opportunity may arise around August 30th. This could involve a promotion, a new role, a management position, business expansion, or increased public visibility. This aspect is also quite good for Capricorns who run their own businesses. You're in a supportive period for growing your business, reaching more customers, creating a new brand, changing workplaces, or transitioning to a more professional system. However, it's important not to separate the growth energy provided by Jupiter from the discipline of Saturn. You can dream big, but you must create a plan to achieve them. For example, instead of saying, I want my business to grow, you can use the Jupiter-Saturn energy much more efficiently by saying, in the next 3 months, I will gain this many new customers, complete this training, and set up this system. If you feel you have to choose between home and career, this aspect can offer you a middle ground. For instance, you might need to move to a larger house because of your job. Or to advance in your career, you might need to stay in your current city while reorganizing some family responsibilities. Here, life might tell you not to give up one, but rather to create a system where you can sustain both. This is especially important for Capricorns because you are inclined to take on responsibilities. However, instead of carrying everything alone, you may need to learn to share tasks. Looking at the overall energy of the week of August 24th to 30th, we see a very important mental and professional transformation for you. The lunar eclipse in your 3rd house on August 28th may bring you a new thought, a new form of communication, or a new connection. Mercury and the Sun in your 9th house will bring decisions related to education and distant places to the forefront, while Uranus in your 6th house may create changes in your daily routine. Then, on August 30th, the trine aspect between Jupiter in your 10th house and Saturn in your 4th house can help your career and family life progress on more solid foundations. So the change that begins in your mind at the beginning of the week may transform into a concrete structure in your real life by the end of the week. Dear Capricorns, This week, ask yourself, what thought do I need to change that will change my life? Because the greatest gift of the third house eclipse is the power to change your way of thinking. Perhaps you have confined yourself to a certain pattern for years. Perhaps you said, this is how I am, I can't change. Perhaps you cared too much about what others thought of you. Now you may realize that your own thoughts, your own voice, and your own decisions are more important. One of the biggest transformations in a person's life begins when they change the way they talk to themselves. When you start saying, how can I do it, instead of I can't, the options before you can suddenly multiply. Take advantage of this eclipse, especially if you want to showcase yourself in the fields of education, communication, the internet, social media, and commerce. You may gain the courage to start a YouTube channel, create content, write articles, give training, build a website, sell online, or share your expertise with others. Don't underestimate a small step, because a project seen by only a few people today can reach a much larger audience over time. The important thing is to take the first step and continue consistently. Dear Capricorn, and those with Capricorn rising, listen carefully to the messages life is giving you this week, because some news, some conversations, and some encounters may be the beginning of big decisions you will make in the coming period. The lunar eclipse on August 28th brings the results of the past 2 years to the forefront, moving you towards a new way of thinking and a wider scope of life. While Uranus in your 6th house encourages you to establish a more free and productive routine in your daily life, Mercury and the Sun in your 9th house remind you of the importance of learning, growth, and broadening your horizons. The harmonious aspect between Jupiter and Saturn on August 30th indicates that you can build a solid foundation for career growth. Perhaps you will receive a phone call this week and receive long-awaited news. Perhaps you will make a decision about education. Perhaps your work routine will change. Perhaps you will receive a new job offer. Perhaps a decision affecting your future will be made within your family. Perhaps you will leave behind a fear you have carried in your mind for years. Whatever it is, don't let these developments scare you, because the energy of the sky this week wants to grow you, not diminish you. One of Capricorn's greatest strengths is patience. Instead of expecting things to happen immediately, you know how to achieve solid results in the long term. This week, the sky tells you to use this quality. Maintain your composure in the face of rapidly developing events, carefully evaluate the news you receive, gather information before making a decision, but don't wait forever. Because some opportunities only knock on the door. Opening that door depends on your courage. Dear Capricorns, the week of August 24th to 30th may not just be a week of celestial activity for you, but the beginning of a period where you can restructure your way of thinking, your work routine, and your career goals. Think about what you've experienced in the past 2 years. In what areas have you grown? What people have you met? What training have you received? What lessons have you learned from your mistakes? What fears have you overcome? Now is the time to use all these experiences in the future. You are no longer the Capricorn of the past. You have much more experience, knowledge, and life experience. Therefore, you can walk the new paths opening before you with more confidence. And remember, dear Capricorns, sometimes what changes our lives is not a great miracle, but a sentence we say at the right time, a message we send, a phone call we make, or a small decision we make. The August 28th eclipse can open the door to just such a beginning. A piece of news may arrive, a conversation may take place, an agreement may be signed, and a few months later you may look back and say, my life actually started to change that day. Therefore, don't underestimate the connections, conversations, and opportunities that come your way this week. The Jupiter-Saturn Trine on August 30th offers you a crucial reassurance. You can create a balance between the career you dream of and the life you want to build. You don't have to sacrifice yourself to be successful. Taking responsibility for your family doesn't mean giving up your career. Advancing in your career doesn't mean completely neglecting your personal life. With the right plan, you can strengthen different areas of your life simultaneously. Dear Capricorns and those with Capricorn rising, when you look back at yourself at the end of this week, you may not see that everything changed instantly, but you will notice that your thoughts, decisions, and goals have begun to change. This is where true transformation begins. First, your mind changes, then your decisions change, and then your life changes. Therefore, listen carefully to the messages brought to you by the August 28th lunar eclipse. Don't be afraid to learn new things, think differently, speak up, ask questions, and try new paths. During the week of August 24th to 30th, the sky tells you, continue to improve yourself, make your voice heard, renew your work routine, and move forward with firm steps towards where you want to be in the future. Just believe in your own strength, because what lies ahead may not only be a new week, but also a broader perspective on life. The experiences of the past 2 years are no longer a burden, but an asset. What you have learned, lived through, and overcome can place you in a stronger position in the coming period. Remember that every piece of news, every conversation, and every opportunity this week could be a small part of your grand future story. Dear Capricorn and those with Capricorn rising, during the week of August 24th to 30th, refresh your mind, be open in communication, take advantage of educational and development opportunities that come your way, approach changes in your work life with flexibility, and don't give up on taking solid steps for your career. Because sometimes a new period in your life begins with just one decision. The sky may show you the way, but walking that path is your choice. I wish you good news, the right connections, new opportunities, growth in your career, and developments that will further strengthen the foundation of your life this week. See you in the next video. Take very good care of yourselves, and remember, a small step you take today could be the beginning of a great success tomorrow. Dear Aquarius and those with Aquarius rising, a development may occur in your life in the coming days that, while seemingly small and ordinary today, could completely change your financial situation a few months later. Perhaps a long-awaited payment will arrive, a new source of income will open up, you will abandon a spending pattern that no longer serves you, or you will experience a significant realization that will make you ask yourself, why haven't I valued myself enough until now? The week of August 24th to 30th holds very important messages for you, especially regarding money, financial security, your resources, and how you perceive your self-worth. This is because the lunar eclipse occurring on August 28th at 4 degrees Pisces takes place in your second house. Moreover, this is a North Node eclipse, marking a period where you can reap the results of the past 2 years. In other words, whatever you've experienced in the last 2 years regarding your earning habits, spending habits, income from your work, your values, and the importance you place on yourself, you can now see the results more clearly. The conjunction of Mercury in Virgo in your 8th house with the Sun and its opposition to the eclipse moon during the eclipse indicates the need to establish a significant balance between your personal income and shared financial resources. The T-square aspect between Uranus in Gemini in your 5th house and the eclipse suggests that unexpected developments in your love life, children, hobbies, creativity, and risky ventures could affect your financial situation. At the end of the week, on August 30th, the trine aspect between Jupiter in Leo in your 9th house and Saturn in Aries in your 3rd house offers strong support for your education, travel, communication, social media, business, and future plans. If you are an Aquarius or have an Aquarius rising sign, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell, because I will continue to interpret important celestial events for you. Now let's discuss in detail the developments this week might bring you. Dear Aquarius, the lunar eclipse in Pisces on August 28th, occurring in your 2nd house, is the main theme of this week. In astrology, the 2nd house doesn't just represent money. Of course, personal income, salary, earnings, material resources, and valuable possessions are all related to this house. However, the 2nd house is also connected to questions like, how valuable am I? Am I getting the recognition I deserve for my talents? Can I stand on my own 2 feet? And what is truly valuable to me in life? Therefore, this eclipse may not only bring you financial results, it may also allow you to rediscover your self-worth. Over the past 2 years, perhaps your income has changed, you've taken on different responsibilities at work, experienced periods of financial hardship, or conversely, discovered new sources of income. Now you can understand more clearly what all these experiences have taught you. For example, let's consider an Aquarius who 2 years ago stayed in the same job despite a low salary because it was secure. Over time, this person may have improved themselves, acquired new skills, and realized that their work now offers a much greater financial reward. But perhaps they haven't taken the plunge because of the thought, I've been working here for years, how can I make a change now? During this eclipse, a new job offer, salary negotiation, or a different income opportunity may arise. Such a development can actually remind you of the value of your own hard work and abilities. Therefore, if a conversation about money comes up around August 28th, don't underestimate yourself. Don't hesitate to ask for what you deserve. The eclipse in Pisces can also strengthen your intuition regarding financial matters. However, it is important to distinguish between intuition and uncertainty here. Especially when making financial decisions, instead of acting solely on your emotions, you need to evaluate the actual numbers, conditions, and long-term consequences. Because Mercury and the Sun in Virgo, in your 8th house, opposite the eclipse, may ask you to think more deeply about shared finances, loans, debts, taxes, inheritance, spouse or partner's income, and financial sharing. On one hand, you might say, my money and my security, while on the other hand, the question of how do we manage our shared resources may come to the fore. For example, consider a married Aquarius. Their income might be stable, but their spouse's income might be variable. They want to buy a house together, make an investment, or undertake a major expense. This week, they may need to reorganize their joint budget, pay off debts, or discuss future financial plans. For another Aquarius, credit or banking transactions may come up. Another person may receive news about a long-awaited inheritance or shared money. The important thing here is not to see money as just a number. Money is also connected to a sense of security in your life. This eclipse may make you ask yourself, what do I need to feel secure? Perhaps there's something you've needed financial support for a long time. This week, you might want to create your own income model. For example, ideas such as earning extra income by working from home, selling products online, providing consulting services, giving training, creating content, or turning a talent you possess into a source of income may come to mind. Second house eclipses are important for strengthening one's own resources. The goal here is not just to earn more money, but to learn to use your talents more effectively. Therefore, ask yourself this question: which of my talents am I not using enough? Maybe you write very well, but you only see it as a hobby. Perhaps you have strong communication skills, but aren't turning it into a professional advantage. Maybe you're an expert in a technical field, but are hesitant to promote yourself. This eclipse can show you the true value of these talents. Sometimes money comes into our lives not through an external miracle, but when we start using the talent we already possess in the right place. Because of the eclipse's opposition to Mercury and the Sun in your 8th house, it's especially important to be meticulous about shared finances. Read the terms carefully if it involves a loan agreement, investment plan, taxes, insurance, debt restructuring, or a joint account. Be aware of how much someone else's financial decisions affect you. If you have a shared budget with your partner, talk openly about it. Instead of avoiding talking about money, clarify your expectations regarding finances. For example, if one person constantly wants to save while the other spends more, this difference can create problems in the relationship over time. Having an open and calm conversation about such a matter this week could prevent a much bigger problem in the future. The conjunction of Mercury and the Sun in Virgo also indicates the need to pay attention to details financially. Instead of a we'll figure it out approach, it's more appropriate to do the math, create a plan, and control the budget. Especially if you're considering a large purchase or investment, do your research first. Write down your income and expenses. Create a financial statement for the next few months. Because, like Capricorn, Aquarius can sometimes generate big ideas for the future, but to implement these ideas, a realistic financial foundation needs to be established. The T-square aspect with Uranus in Gemini in your 5th house during the eclipse brings love, children, hobbies, and creativity into the picture. Uranus loves surprises here, especially in your love life, a sudden relationship, an unexpected meeting, or a change in the usual routine in an existing relationship may come to the fore. However, these developments may also be connected to financial matters. For example, you might make a large purchase with your partner. You might go on a trip together. You might spend money on a hobby. An unexpected expense related to your child may arise. But beneath all of this lies an energy that gives you a new life experience. For example, let's consider an Aquarius who has been interested in photography for a long time. This person has been taking photos for years, but only sees it as a hobby. One day, a photo they shared on social media receives a lot of attention, and a client offers them a job. At first, they might think, I'm not a professional. But over time, they realize this could turn into a new source of income. This is how the connection between a second house eclipse and Uranus in the fifth house can work. Your hobby, creativity, or talent can suddenly transform into a tangible asset. In your love life, you may be open to surprises under the influence of Uranus. Someone who intellectually nourishes you, thinks differently, and is free-spirited may enter your life. If you are in a current relationship, you may feel the need to change a monotonous routine. You might want to take up a new hobby together, travel, join a different social circle, or experience new things that will add excitement to your relationship. The important thing here is to strike a balance between freedom and commitment in your relationship. Aquarius already values its freedom highly. However, true freedom isn't about escaping the relationship, but about being yourself within it. For Aquarians with children, Uranus in the fifth house can be quite active. There may be unexpected developments in your child's education, hobbies, or future plans. Your child may discover a talent or show interest in an unusual field. Your role here might be to support them in discovering their talent rather than directing them according to your own expectations, because Uranus represents difference. Your child choosing a different path than you expected could actually be a sign that they have found their own potential. At the end of the week, even more positive celestial support is coming. On August 30th, Jupiter, progressing in Leo in your ninth house, will form a trine aspect with Saturn in Aries in your third house. This aspect carries a strong opportunity for growth, especially in terms of education, communication, travel, foreigners, international connections, law, academic studies, and your worldview. When Jupiter is in the ninth house, it broadens one's perspective on the world. It encourages learning new things, encountering different cultures, traveling, specializing, and thinking bigger. Saturn in the third house enables the application of these big ideas in daily life. For example, let's consider an Aquarius who has wanted to study abroad for years. They dream about it, but constantly postpone it, saying, I don't have enough money, my language skills aren't good enough, I don't have enough time. This week, they might learn about an educational program, apply or discover a scholarship opportunity. Saturn gives them the responsibility of working regularly and planning, while Jupiter says your horizons can be broader. Thus, a small research project could turn into a significant life decision a few months later. The same aspect can be very supportive for Aquarians working in social media, the internet, and communication. If you are working on a YouTube channel, podcast, educational platform, social media account, or internet project, your potential to reach a wider audience may increase. Sharing knowledge, especially in a subject you specialize in, can bring you both prestige and, over time, financial gain. Saturn in the third house tells you to produce regularly, while Jupiter in the ninth house says, distribute this to a wider audience. Therefore, it's important to create a sustainable system instead of a one-off project. This aspect can also be interpreted in terms of writing a book, completing a training program, preparing for an exam, or publishing a project you've been working on for a long time. In particular, you may now move into a teaching role in a subject where you've accumulated knowledge over a long period. You can now share your knowledge with others in a field where you were previously a student. This is a very valuable transformation for Aquarius because knowledge is limited when it remains only in your mind. It grows when shared. Looking at the entire week of August 24th to 30th, a very powerful story emerges. The lunar eclipse in your second house on August 28th asks you, what is my value and how can I concretize it? Mercury and the Sun in your eighth house encourage you to act more consciously regarding shared resources and financial sharing. Uranus in your fifth house activates your creative side, love life, and hobbies. The Jupiter-Saturn Trine on August 30th supports you in concretizing your goals related to education, communication, and distant places. So this week can connect to an awareness, creativity, and knowledge area starting with money, and from there to your big goals in the future. Dear Aquarians, this week don't just think, can I earn more money? Also ask yourself, what values do I want to build my life upon? Because money is an important part of life, but it's not the only value. Perhaps you want to earn more, but you don't want to give up your freedom in return. Perhaps you want to work smarter instead of just harder. Perhaps you don't want to earn a lot of money, but rather for your work to give you meaning. The eclipse in your second house gives you the opportunity to reevaluate all of these things. If you've experienced financial difficulties in the past 2 years, you may find that it has made you more conscious. Perhaps you've reduced unnecessary expenses. Maybe you've learned to save. Maybe you've gained knowledge about investing. Maybe you've learned to trust your own abilities. Now you can reap the rewards of these efforts. If you've taken the right financial steps in the last 2 years, this eclipse may allow you to see the results. If you've made some mistakes, this eclipse may give you the opportunity to correct them. Eclipses don't always mean rewards. Sometimes they bring awareness that puts us on the right path. However, the purpose of this awareness is growth. This week, pay particular attention to not comparing yourself to others. Instead of looking at someone else's life on social media and thinking they are more successful, richer, or luckier than me, focus on your own path, because the second house eclipse is related to your self-worth. Someone else's earnings don't diminish your value. Someone else's success doesn't mean your failure. When you discover your own abilities and utilize them correctly, you can create your own financial system. Perhaps this week you will negotiate a deal. You may want to increase your salary. You may renegotiate the fee for a service. You will be giving a price to a client. Don't underestimate your own work here. Of course, being realistic and researching the market is important. But don't devalue your own work just to please others. One of the most important messages of the second house eclipse could be, recognize your own worth. This period is especially important for Aquarians who do creative work, because a connection is made between Uranus in the fifth house and the second house eclipse. You can make money from your hobby. A talent of yours may become visible. A job you previously did only for fun may become professional. A project related to children, art, music, writing, design, content creation, stage work, or digital projects can turn into a new source of income. The only condition here is to take your talent seriously and develop it. Dear Aquarius and those with Aquarius rising, the week of August 24th to 30th gives you the opportunity to restructure your financial security, recognize your own worth, and use your talents more effectively. The Pisces lunar eclipse on August 28th will bring to light the consequences of your experiences in the areas of money and self-worth over the past 2 years, while Mercury and the Sun in your 8th house may enable you to make more conscious decisions regarding shared resources. Uranus in your 5th house brings surprises in the areas of love, creativity, and hobbies, while the Jupiter-Saturn Trine on August 30th offers solid support for education, communication, travel, and ambitious future goals. This week, you may not immediately understand the true value of a piece of news, an offer, a conversation, or an opportunity that enters your life. The meaning of some developments may become clear over time. Therefore, don't hastily dismiss them as insignificant. A phone call could lead to a new business connection. A friend's suggestion could turn into a new educational opportunity. A hobby could open a new source of income. A financial decision could increase your future security. A trip could lead to meeting someone who will change the direction of your life. Remember, dear Aquarians, a major event isn't always necessary for a new chapter in your life to begin. Sometimes a small decision, a small idea, and a little courage can be the start of a big change. While the August 28th eclipse reminds you of your self-worth, the Jupiter-Saturn support on August 30th tells you to learn, plan, implement, and grow. So take advantage of the opportunities that come your way this week, but also keep your feet firmly on the ground. Your dreams can and should be big. However, to make these dreams a reality, you need to create a solid plan. Dear Aquarians and those with Aquarius rising, during the week of August 24th to 30th, trust yourselves, appreciate the value of your efforts, make conscious financial decisions, don't underestimate your creative abilities, and don't postpone your future goals, because the experiences you've had over the past 2 years have now given you a significant advantage. Perhaps you didn't understand why some of the events you experienced happened to you back then. Now, looking back, you may realize that all those experiences have transformed you into the Aquarius you are today. You are now more conscious, more experienced, and you know your own worth better. If we were to summarize this week's most important message in a single sentence, we could say, when you realize your own worth, the values in your life begin to change. Money, work, love, creativity, education, and future goals are not independent of each other. When you increase the value you place on yourself, the decisions you make change. When your decisions change, the direction of your life changes. The August 28th eclipse can open the door to exactly such a transformation for you. And dear Aquarians, in the coming period, aim not only to earn more, but also to build a more meaningful, freer life that aligns with your own values, because true abundance is not measured only by the numbers in your bank account. Being able to do the work you love, receiving the rewards of your labor, being creative, feeling free, and looking to the future with hope are also great riches. This week, the sky gives you the opportunity to reevaluate all of these. I wish that the week of August 24th to 30th brings you the chance to strengthen your financially, discover your own worth, turn your creative talents into income, connect with the right people, seize great opportunities in education and travel, and build your future on a more solid foundation. Listen to the messages from the sky, but also use your own intuition and reason, because a new chapter may be beginning for you. Until the next video, take good care of yourself and remember, the day you believe in your own worth, you will begin to appreciate the opportunities life offers you even more. Dear Pisces and those with Pisces rising, are you ready to open the door to a brand new chapter in your life? Because the week of August 24th to 30th is no ordinary week for you. It marks the beginning of a very powerful period where you can redefine yourself, your life, your relationships, and the kind of person you want to be in the future. In particular, the Pisces lunar eclipse on August 28th, occurring at 4 degrees in your sign, your first house, may bring the experiences of the past 2 years to a conclusion. The fact that this eclipse occurs on your north node indicates that the energy will carry you to the future, not the past. This means you can now leave behind old habits, old fears, thoughts that drag you down, and lifestyles you realize aren't yours, and choose a much better path for yourself. This week, when you look in the mirror, you may question not only your appearance, but your life in general. Questions like, am I really living the life I want? Who do I want to be? Am I acting according to others' expectations, or am I following my own path? May circulate much more strongly in your mind. Moreover, this eclipse is in opposition to Mercury's conjunction with the Sun in Virgo, your 7th house. Therefore, relationships, marriage, partnerships, and important one-on-one connections become a significant part of this change. Uranus in Gemini, your 4th house, forming a T-square aspect with the eclipse indicates that unexpected developments may occur regarding home, family, relocation, living space, and matters from the past. At the end of the week, on August 30th, Jupiter in Leo, your 8th house, forming a trine aspect with Saturn in Aries, your 2nd house, suggests you can build a more solid structure in financial matters, shared resources, investments, and financial security. If you are a Pisces or have a Pisces rising sign, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell, because I will continue to interpret the important developments in the sky in detail for you in the coming weeks. Now, let's look together at which areas of your life this powerful week can change. Dear Pisces, the lunar eclipse on August 28th is taking place in your 1st house. In astrology, the 1st house represents a person's self, body, appearance, approach to life, behavior, personal decisions, and the first message they send to the world. Therefore, this eclipse is a very personal turning point for you. Here, what you want becomes more important than what others want. Think about the events of the last 2 years. Perhaps your relationship changed, your job changed, where you live changed, your family responsibilities increased or decreased. You parted ways with some people and formed much stronger bonds with others. Perhaps throughout this process, you had to focus more on your surroundings than yourself. Now, the sky is calling you back to the center of yourself. The question, so Pisces, what do you want, can now be heard much louder. You can think of this eclipse as a personal assessment of the last 2 years. The Pisces of 2 years ago may not be the same person today. Something you feared then may no longer scare you. A type of relationship you accepted then may no longer be what you want. You may have learned to set boundaries with people you were hesitant to say no to before. Or you may have realized how important a dream you've been putting off for years is to you now. The August 28th eclipse can make all these changes visible. Sometimes we change without experiencing a major event in our lives. One day we wake up and say, I don't think like that anymore. This eclipse can bring such a powerful inner awareness. For example, let's consider a Pisces who has been constantly putting the needs of others before their own for the past 2 years. They've supported their family, dealt with their partner's problems, carried the burden of their colleagues, tried to understand everyone's feelings, but constantly postponed their own life. At some point, this person may realize they are tired, but this tiredness doesn't have to be a negative outcome. On the contrary, the awareness that I need to make time for myself too can be the beginning of a new phase in their life. Starting a sport, changing their appearance, taking a new course, changing jobs, taking up a new hobby, or simply giving more importance to their own decisions can all be reflections of this eclipse. This eclipse in Pisces can have a very powerful emotional impact. You are already a sign with strong intuition, easily understanding people's feelings and quickly perceiving the atmosphere around you. However, you may sometimes confuse the feelings of others with your own. Someone's sadness might make you sad too. You might try to solve someone's problems immediately. You might feel guilty when you don't meet someone's expectations. This eclipse can bring you an important lesson about boundaries. Loving others is one thing. Carrying all their burdens is another. Instead of solving other people's problems, you can start taking responsibility for your own life. The opposition of Mercury and Virgo in your 7th house to the Sun's conjunction during the eclipse places the relationship area directly opposite this transformation. This means that as you change, your relationships may also change. For married or partnered Pisces, important conversations with your partner may arise. You might talk about the future of your relationship, joint decisions, lifestyle, sharing responsibilities, or your expectations of each other. For single Pisces, a person who enters your life may help you redefine yourself. Sometimes the people we meet show us something about ourselves we never realized. Therefore, during this period, relationships can be not only a romantic matter, but also a mirror of your personal growth. For example, a Pisces might have been taking on everything in their relationship for a long time. They might constantly be trying to solve their partner's work, family, financial problems, and daily responsibilities. This person might start saying, the responsibility of this relationship isn't solely on me. While such a conversation might seem to strain the relationship at first, it can actually help establish a healthier relationship structure. Mercury's influence in Virgo teaches you to discuss details, not ignore problems, and create clarity. While you may act emotionally, the other person may approach things more logically. The goal here isn't to find out who is right, but to establish a balance where both sides understand each other's needs. This is also an important period for single Pisces, because while the eclipse in your 1st house changes your energy, the Mercury-Sun influence in your 7th house can open the door to a new relationship. In particular, you might meet someone who nourishes you intellectually, has strong communication skills, is detail-oriented, and can bring order to your life. This person could come from your work life, an educational environment, your social circle, or online. However, what's important here isn't just the start of a relationship, but whether that relationship is compatible with your new identity. Because you're no longer the old Pisces. Therefore, instead of repeating old relationship patterns, you may want to establish a healthier connection. The T-square aspect between the eclipse and Uranus in Gemini in your 4th house can bring surprises regarding home and family matters. Moving, changing houses, an unexpected decision within the family, home renovations, creating a new workspace, or a change in the life of a family member could affect your routine. Uranus here is conveying the message, not everything has to stay the same. For example, a Pisces who has lived in the same house for years might suddenly consider living in another city. Or, if they work from home, they might completely change their workspace. A family member's job change or relocation could reshape the family structure. Even if you initially perceive these developments as uncertainty, Uranus's purpose is to move you towards a more liberated lifestyle. For example, consider a Pisces who has been living in a small, cramped house for a long time. They work from home and constantly struggle because they lack a workspace. Suddenly, an opportunity for a larger house may arise. Moving may seem expensive and tiring at first, but when they start working, resting, and having time for themselves more comfortably in their new home, they may realize how much this change has improved their quality of life. This is the logic of change with Uranus. First, it shakes up the established order. Then it helps you establish a more liberated one. Uranus in the fourth house can also represent a change in some thoughts from the past. You might let go of the idea you learned from your family. I must always stay in the same place to feel safe. You might change the idea that I must please everyone to be a good person. You might move away from the understanding that I must live the life my family wants. These changes can be quite significant for you, because while the first house eclipse gives you the courage to build your own life, Uranus in the fourth house tells you not to let the past define you. At the end of the week, on August 30th, a very nice financial support is coming. Jupiter, progressing in Leo in your 8th house, is making a trine aspect with Saturn in Aries in your 2nd house. This aspect is especially important for balancing your personal income with shared resources. The 2nd house represents your own money, and the 8th house represents shared money. Therefore, developments may occur in areas such as your spouse's or partner's income, joint investments, loans, debts, inheritance, insurance, compensation, or support from another person's resources. Jupiter provides opportunities for growth here, while Saturn instills financial discipline. In other words, managing what you earn correctly becomes as important as earning more. For example, let's consider a Pisces who has been wanting to restructure their debts for a long time. They may have found a new job opportunity to increase their income, but at the same time, they may not know how to manage their existing debts. Around August 30th, you may establish a more regular payment schedule, pay off a debt, or receive financial support that will ease your financial burden. For another Pisces, a joint investment may come up. This could involve buying a house or land, starting a joint business, or expanding the budget with an increase in your spouse's income. The important thing here is to make big decisions with long-term planning, not just on impulse. With Jupiter in the 8th house, support from others may also increase. A family member may help you. Your partner's financial situation may improve. The return on an investment may be better than expected. A payment or receivable may be finalized. However, due to Jupiter's amplifying nature, it's important not to take excessive risks. Instead of increasing expenses uncontrollably thinking, money is coming anyway, it might be wiser to use the opportunity to increase your future security. Saturn's support in the 2nd house perfectly illustrates this. Turn the opportunity into a lasting system. This week, also be careful not to measure your self-worth based on material matters. Earning money is important, but how much you earn doesn't determine your value as a person. Sometimes people feel valuable when they earn more money and feel inadequate when their money decreases. However, the lunar eclipse in your 1st house is giving you a much deeper message. You are not just your income, your job, or your possessions. You are a whole comprised of all your experiences, talents, intuition, and the value you bring to life. When you realize your own worth, you begin to make healthier financial decisions. Looking at the entire week of August 24th to 30th, a strong connection is actually being established between different areas of your life. The lunar eclipse in your 1st house is changing you. Mercury and the Sun in your 7th house are including your relationships in this change. Uranus in your 4th house is opening a new chapter in your home and family life. Jupiter in your 8th house and Saturn in your 2nd house offer an opportunity to make your financial life more stable. So this week, you're not just saying, I'm changing. Your change is also reflected in your relationships, your home, and your financial situation. Dear Pisces, therefore, this week ask yourself a very important question. What kind of person do I want to be in the rest of my life? The answer you give to this question may reveal the most important message of the eclipse for you. Perhaps you want to be bolder. Perhaps you want more freedom. Perhaps you want to advance in your career, start your own business, live in a different city, or start a new relationship. Perhaps you simply want to be more peaceful and dedicate more time to yourself. All of these are valuable, because this eclipse is teaching you to return to the center of your own life. You may now better understand why some events you experienced in the last 2 years occurred. Perhaps the end of a relationship upset you greatly, but today you realize that it forced you to get to know yourself better. Perhaps a job change frightened you, but today you find yourself much happier in your new job. Perhaps you experienced great difficulties during a move, but in your new environment you met the most important people in your life. Sometimes eclipses reveal the meaning of past events later on. Therefore, instead of asking, why did I experience this? When looking back, try asking, what did this experience teach me? One of the most important characteristics of Pisces is their ability to transform. You can adapt to circumstances, deepen emotionally, and derive great meaning from your experiences. But this time, it's not just about adapting to conditions, but about creating your own. Instead of always shaping yourself according to the needs of others, you should be the architect of your own life. The first house eclipse gives you exactly this power, especially if you want to make changes related to your appearance or lifestyle. You can consider this week. Topics like a new hairstyle, a different clothing style, starting a sport, establishing a healthier lifestyle, or taking better care of yourself may come up. Do these things not just for your appearance, but to feel better about yourself. Because eclipses in the first house help strengthen one's relationship with oneself. You can learn to be more compassionate towards yourself instead of criticizing yourself when you look in the mirror. In relationships, open communication is very important. Instead of trying to guess what your partner is thinking, ask directly. Questions like, what do you expect from me? What kind of life do we want in the future? How will we share responsibilities? Can strengthen your relationship. If you are in a relationship, you may need to discuss living arrangements, home, moving, or financial matters during this period. Instead of viewing these conversations as a crisis, consider them an opportunity to strengthen your relationship. Single Pisces may start to show themselves more. You may enter environments you previously hesitated to enter, meet new people, and liven up your social life. However, instead of starting a relationship just to avoid being alone, it's more important to choose someone who truly complements you and fits into your new life. Because from now on, you will want the people who enter your life to contribute to your growth. The Jupiter-Saturn Trine on August 30th gives you an important message, especially financially. You can make great opportunities permanent with small acts of discipline. For example, saving a regular amount of money each month, paying off debts in a planned way, diversifying your income sources, or learning a new financial skill can create very significant results in the future. Jupiter offers you opportunities, and Saturn makes those opportunities permanent. Therefore, don't underestimate the small but regular steps you take in financial matters this week. Dear Pisces and those with Pisces rising, the week of August 24th to 30th is a week of rebirth for you. The lunar eclipse in the first house on August 28th tells you it's time to choose yourself. You can embark on a new path without leaving behind the experiences of the last 2 years, but taking with you what you've learned from them. You can be clearer in your relationships, freer at home, more stable financially, and more decisive in your own life. You don't have to make big changes in every area of your life at once. Just start somewhere. Sometimes the biggest transformation in our lives begins with a small promise we make to ourselves. This week, also ask yourself, what do I no longer accept? Because sometimes building a new life begins with realizing what we don't want in our old life. Relationships that constantly exhaust you, environments that don't value you, dreams you constantly postpone, or thoughts that make you feel small can now be left behind. The message of the North Node is to move towards the future. Therefore, you don't have to be the person who defined you in the past. You have the right to redefine yourself. Dear Pisces, the coming period may mark the beginning of important decisions that will change the direction of your life. A relationship may become more serious. A relationship may end, and you may feel more free afterward. You might move, create a new home, make an important decision regarding your family, establish a more stable financial system, or pursue a dream you've been putting off for a long time. The common thread in all these developments is that you become more yourself. Remember, change isn't always something to be feared. Sometimes change is life's way of saying, you deserve better now. Therefore, approach the developments that come your way this week with curiosity, not fear. Pay close attention to the news, conversations, and decisions you make, especially around August 28th, because you may not see the true impact of some developments immediately, but in the coming months. Dear Pisces and those with Pisces rising, the week of August 24th to 30th offers you the opportunity to rediscover yourself, move your relationships to a healthier foundation, create a new order in your home and family life, and strengthen your financial security. The Pisces lunar eclipse on August 28th brings the results of the past 2 years to the forefront while guiding you towards the future. Mercury and the Sun in your 7th house bring important conversations to the forefront in your relationships, while Uranus in your 4th house may create surprising changes in your life. The Jupiter-Saturn Trine on August 30th offers strong support for balancing your shared and personal financial resources. This week is the perfect time to regain control of your life. Trust yourself. Listen to your intuition, but support your important decisions with factual information. Listen to your heart, but protect your boundaries. Love others, but don't forget yourself, because this eclipse reminds you that you are not a supporting character in other people's lives, but the protagonist of your own story. And dear Pisces, perhaps you have been waiting for a change in your life for a long time. Perhaps you were thinking, when will a new chapter begin for me? This week, the sky can give you a very powerful answer. The new chapter begins within you. When you change the value you place on yourself, the decisions you make change. When your decisions change, your environment changes. When your environment changes, the direction of your life changes. The lunar eclipse on August 28th may be the first link in this chain. The beautiful aspect between Jupiter and Saturn on August 30th reminds you of this. Dreaming is wonderful, but you need to build a solid foundation to turn your dreams into reality. Organize your financial life, plan your future, invest in your talents, and don't postpone decisions that will take you to a stronger position. Because the opportunities that open up in your life in the coming period can turn into much greater results when you are ready. Dear Pisces, and those with Pisces rising, I wish you a week of beautiful developments from August 24th to 30th, where you will rediscover yourself, gain clarity in your relationships, increase peace in your home, become stronger financially, and look to the future with greater hope. I wish this eclipse gives you the strength to free yourself from the burdens of the past and to courageously build your own future. Believe in yourself, don't be afraid of change, and trust the new path life wants to take you on, because sometimes the most beautiful period of our lives begins when we realize that we can no longer continue as we were before. See you in the next video. Take good care of yourselves, and remember, when you change, your life begins to change with you.